On today's episode of Let's Talk FGO, it's time for the Valentine's pregame. Never mind, it's still January. Don't ask me these questions. Plus, we'll keep you up to date with all kinds of other stuff going on, including our lovely mailbag and more. So stay tuned. I'm one of your hosts, Omega. With me, as always, is Lucky. And I probably could have worked in some kind of specific video game-based joke there. But, you know, not every week I have my A material.
So, with that, it is time for... I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka the Fluorescent of Romance. And while we here at Studio Mag like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for both the JP and EM versions of the game, so anyone not want to spoil, make sure you prepare your chocolates accordingly.
Nodding along. Sorry, I was slightly distracted. Caldea Breakroom just tweeted out that they're taking a little break.
A break?
Yeah, they said that, you know, they posted for Nioh Santa and then said, we're taking a break, we'll be back shortly. They are ceasing their schedule and they're taking some time off to refine the content, whatever that means exactly. Maybe get some more interviews done and stuff in the back. That's breaking news. But yes, we're Let's Talk FGO. We're coming to you loud, fast, some other adjectives, and we'll be talking to you about quite a few other things. And yes, as usual, this is going to be a new event pregame, so there will be some tangential spoilers, but not that many because it's Valentine's, and honestly, it's pretty simple, so we'll cover all that in a little bit. I think everything's pretty on the ball for show formatting and whatnot. So we'll get right into it. Sorry, I had to lead away to cough. I'm trying to pull my mic closer, and then it's like, slight scratchiness. When we record the show, I've been completely unbothered all day. But we're doing our usual show intro. It's time to remind you that this episode is brought to you by our wonderful and beautiful patrons and all of our listeners. More on that later. And we move to our first scheduled topic in the structure of the show that is mostly the same every week. Let's check out the favorite. Go ahead.
Senpai, 起きてください.
Because it's time for Wake the Fuck Up Senpai Workers for Pro Tips. And I wasn't sure if there'd be something, but thankfully, speaking of the FGO website, they bailed me out. Because it is pretty close to February. It's not February yet, it's still January. But it will be February soon, which means it'll be time for new February exchange items with your exchange tickets. And those items will be giant rings, night medals, gears, proofs, and small bells. So a wide variety of things for you to pick from. Good, great. I will miss my Vestiges of Madness. Those are giving me a stockpile. But we'll keep on keeping on. And that means we'll be moving on to Records to the Throne of Record Achievement topic. Not a big one this week, but I just want to say, because I wasn't all done with them last time, that I did get to 100 missions complete. So, fully locked in and finished the event. I do know that there were a few people who started pretty late on account of the season, but hopefully most of you managed to catch up and get your Yoris, and we're all good. So I muted for a very gross third clear. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. The show, what the show? So, let's see. No evils, and then we move to, did you finish your master missions? Once again, after doing that, let me readjust my mic position a little. So, complete your master missions for this week. You need to defeat 3 neutral servants, 3 chaotic servants, acquire 2 skill gems or statues, and then 4 skill gems or statues, and then defeat 15 enemies, which are both humanid and demonic. So, I'm fairly certain all of those could have been accomplished in the event. Now that the event is over, you can accomplish all of those pretty easily, because I'm reasonably certain you can get all that done in Fuyuki. Humanoids, demonics, neutrals, and chaotics. I guess you just gotta hope for a skill gem drop. But those enemies should do skill gems. It's over there. And that means it's time for Skelograms. Not a crazy amount of news this week, but we do have a few updates. Mm-hmm. Firstly, sorry, move those around. Too many tabs. Sorry, I had to fight the urge to start singing the tune to Too Many Cooks. People remember that? That was a long time ago now. That gag. Took over the internet for a long-ass time, though. But yes, first updates from Caldea and Floralia. They've gotten 2 new summon banners. So, both of these go until the 13th. So I presume that will be until the end of the event. But you've got an Ereshkigal and Ramen Hood banner. And then a Hokusai and Nero banner. Not sure exactly why we decided to lock those in particular, other than that Eresh is fairly related to this event, as you might expect an event around Fields of Flowers to be. But that means we are clocking over to a couple of English updates. First and foremost, Audio Call New Duties, Part 5, starting on the 27th, going until the 3rd of February. I wrote that as 1 in my notes, but luckily I can do math. I can correctly realize that if the month of number 1 ends, it becomes the month of number 2. But does mean we have new free and high difficulty quests in the Bleached Earth. Somebody in our lovely live patron chat did point out that they also got most of those missions done doing those as well, so that was something I was going to say, but it's relevant now to say. You can also probably do your master missions somewhere on the Bleached Earth. We have new permanent missions related to Bleached Earth quests to give you more torches and more Stardust. Keep on plugging away at your class scores. There are also limited time missions to do Bleached Earth quests for a total of 6 Saint Quartz, some EXPs, I think it's like 25 5 stars, a few teapots, and some more Stardust. Even crazier space dust. There's also limited time missions for 9 total Saint Quartz, which are linked to story progress, which you should probably automatically fulfill if you're caught up. We have quarter AP through LB7, keeping in mind that, like, I'm pretty sure all main story quests on Part 1 and most of Part 2 are 0 AP anyway, but LB7 is not quite that far, but it's quarter AP on everything. And Audio Call 1 specifically is half AP, so you can catch up on that. There's also half AP on Bleached Earth quest, which is pretty good. And your Leyline Stones, speaking of story progress, are updated, so they will continue to be available in stores and logins, and will be good until the 2nd of February, which, considering this started on, like, the 27th, is not really that long, but, you know, they're still doing them. Got a little bit of time left. We are also in English server, starting our pre-release for Valentine's 2026. Starts the 27th, so a few days ago. Ends the 3rd also. Log in during this time period for some cumulative logins for a little bit of QP, a little bit of EXP, a little bit of apples, and other few things. During this time, you're going to get double FP, half AP interludes, and rank ups for bonus servants. We also have brand new rank ups for, Sei Shonagon and Lady Murasaki. Let me actually go double check which those buffs are. While that is loading, we also do have a banner for the pre-release campaign. It's Johanna, who was the brand new servant for Valentine's last year. So she's getting her rerun rate up. And officially, burp hiccups, I think, overcame me. But officially, Valentine's 2026 is coming early February. Now, the broadcasting is announced and will be playing in the evening of the 3rd, which is roughly when these all end. So I'm going to say that, depending on maintenance and time zones, it's going to start the 4th. Weird, I know. Actually, I probably should have put this in the pro tips as well, but FGO did put out its yearly update to let you know about increased data transfer during Valentine's because of sending and receiving voiced Valentines and stuff. So, you know, keep that in mind. Let's see. Okay. So it says evasion is buffed, so the critical strength will last 3 turns and the NP gauge is increased. And it's Diary of a Lady Murasaki that's updated. So is that going to be adding or increasing? I think it's adding her special attack chaotic and special attack good to it. So that gives her a couple more trait damages. Pretty sure she can already do bonus damage to demonic. But, you know, remember your rank ups because they're good for St. Quartz as well. And specifically those two will be half AP.
I have been knocking out a few rank ups here and there, so he's very good.
Yeah, I got to catch up on a couple of mine. They've rolled out a few. I think we also got some others like early. Like, I can't remember if that... Pretty sure they announced an Aresh one. I can't remember if that was covered previously or supposed to happen, but it's been buried in all the extra news they've got going on. But they have launched quite a few raid ups, or rank ups. Rank ups for raid ups. And like I said, Sei and Murasaki specifically will be half AP during this time period, because they're going to be bonus servants. You want to know more about bonus servants? You want to know more about this event that's coming out? Well, check with us after Mailbag, because I wrote a pregame.
Yeah! Yay. Alright, so with that, it is time for this week. Let's talk FGO Mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. This week, we have five lovely comments, and we will get through them all. So, at the top, we have Monster Girl Aficionado. They say, "Dear Lucky and Omega, no question this week, just sending good vibes. Wah, 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 wah. And wishing you well. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much."
Hey. Sometimes when I say A like that, I feel like I also have to follow it up immediately with bada bing.
When I do an A, I usually am compelled to follow it up with double finger guns.
Also true, yes. Like, you have to finger gun at least once when you A. Sometimes you might as well.
Yep.
And then, like, depending on the context, I almost always want to say either something like bada bing or like lamau.
Enough on that. We're gonna move on. The next one comes from Cold Dave. They say, funny, my last week's question got side-railed in the Dresden talk. I had thought about asking about it, but figured you guys wouldn't have a chance to finish them yet. 12 months was great. Excited to see what you guys think. Unfortunately, while I do have it, I have not started it. Right now, Lucky is trying to get through the Olympian Trials, which is, as we mentioned, book 2 in Jem Butcher's Cinderspire series. Like I said, I finished Warrior Born, and I'm actually very glad I did, because that was literally a prequel into fucking Olympian Trials.
Yeah, I didn't realize its position until after you talked about it. So I also, this maybe spoilers for a future conversation, I also bought the novella and read it.
Yeah,
and it is a direct like 1.5 lead in.
Yes. I'm so sad about his losses, though. We'll talk about it later. But yes, so I did read listen to Warrior Born, and I'm working on the Olympian Trials, and after that I'll probably get into 12 months. I might want to read, I feel like I might want to do Peace Talks and Battlegrounds before that, just because it's been so goddamn long.
It has been a pretty long time. I will say I have also all those. I started reading 12 months actually. But then I had to put it down for a little bit. I did the classical blunder of reading it a little too late into the night, and it's been pretty cold here. So that was the Wednesday night, where the following Thursday, yesterday, I did not sleep so good because it was so cold. So I was like up late, and I like was struggling reading the book because I'm like breaking into cold sweats because I'm like sitting reading on my electric blanket, and I'm like, ooh, that's a little warm sitting still reading. Stand up. And it's like, oh shit, it's cold out here. So,
oh no.
Well, no direct fault of the book. I was mulling over the early chapters also like all night to myself, sleeping, literally keeping me up at night, kind of shit. But it also like the environment was not my greatest for good reading, so I'm like, hold on, let me put it off for a few days and like rest properly, and I'll catch back up later. So far it is very solid though. I will agree with the assessment. I kind of figured like what the structure would be from like the press release, but reading Jim talk about it in like the AMA beforehand also really like set my expectations really well, because it's like, yeah, no, this is a very unique novel he wrote that I'm glad he did, because it really does just kind of go like, all right, here's a couple chapter of, Harry in like July, and it's like, okay, he has some problems, but nothing gets resolved, so we're going to move to the next one. It's August now. Very solid, and also very interesting to see kind of like the stuff going through. It basically starts like immediately after Battlegrounds ends, so I'm not sure if you need to recap, because like Dresden himself kind of like recaps everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like he initially goes through like, it's been like a week since a lot of really fucked up shit happened. Here's where I'm at. My arm's still broken. That's how short the time has been. His arm didn't get unbroke between the end of Battlegrounds and the start of 12 months.
Okay, that's good. Like I said, we always talk like, well, Jim has talked about this before, how each book is usually Harry's like worst week in the year and whatnot. So,
12 months is Harry Dresden's really fucked up year getting over his literal worst day ever. Basically. Like, it's very interesting, but there's still some great dialogue and some great back and forth, and I've been liking it a lot, but there is a certain like tension in the reading to like this style.
Also, did Jim Butcher change cover artist? The guy they have now Harry doesn't have a hat anymore.
It might just be different covers in different places. The guy on 12 months I got's got a hat.
Oh no, well, this might have been on Audible. I was looking on the Audible covers for the novellas for because there's also 2 novellas coming out soon. One called Outlaw and another one called The Law, and the covers for both of them, Harry doesn't have a hat, and I was like, gasp.
Interesting, because it's a novella.
Maybe. But no, I am going to get in there. But like I said, like I'm reading a lot. I'm reading a lot of light novels and web novels and all sorts of stuff. And I'm trying to get back in it. Like I said, I've always been an audiobook guy. Like I don't mind reading. I like reading, but audiobooks allow me to multitask or or allow me to listen to a story while we're on a drive. Lucky's one of those guys that I can't look down at a book and be in a moving vehicle. I get super sick, car sick doing that.
I get motion sick. Like, it's been years, so I don't know if I can do it anymore. I, like, got better at it through, like, playing Nintendo DS in the car, but, like, reading, one of several reasons why I've preferred a lot of audiobooks myself. But I read text, like, super fast, so I do still like to get certain things and, sit and read them. And it's funny, I think I've talked about this before, but, like, the Dresden Files audiobooks are iconic. James Marsters is really good at it.
Oh, yeah.
But I got my start, like, reading them from the library, so, like, I'm also still used to reading the text on the page, too.
Yeah, I don't know if reading it would be the same way. I would hear James Marster in my head, but there's just something about James Marster's deliveries that's so good to me, and I love it.
I mean, definitely, like, me reading it myself, I can't wait to go back and hear his rendition of some of this stuff. There's some great dialogue already. New characters, old characters, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff.
Harry continues to be really mouthy to Mab.
I mean, yeah.
Boss, Laura Wraith likes women, why can't you marry her? And she's just like, what do I pay you for, dingus?
I think it's a very antagonistic relationship, but I love just how Harry's not afraid to sass Mob, but Mob is also not afraid to just be like, no, I'm your boss. And Harry's like, shit.
Well, it's great too, because as always, it's that, the fucking, I think the TV tropes line is, your approval fills me with shame. Is like, there's so many times where Harry will be like, Mab, if you do this, I'm gonna have to kick your ass. I don't know if I can do that, but I have to try. And she's just like, oh my god, finally. We're trying to get you to do this shit forever, man. I need you on your A game, bud. You're vital to this operation. Did you see how much of a bum my last night was? I need some real hired help out here. And Harry's just like, okay, I'm working on it.
No, like I said, I am excited to see. I am also just in general, I am very excited to see, because Battlegrounds was very much a game changer of, God, after fucking
everything. I mean, and that's like
after I think what was it? Ghost Game? No, Changes. Ghost Story.
No,
it was changes
into Ghost Story.
Yes. And you definitely got like the different vibe of like things was happening, but what was the book after? There was a couple books after Ghost Story, right? Before we hit?
Yes. What was it? It was Ghost Story, then was it? I want to say Hell Game, but I don't think that's quite right. Wait, what the fuck am I doing? I own these books!
Distant Omega noises.
Yeah, the advantage of text. I own these. I can literally open it up and look at the list. Let's see. Also by Jim Butcher. So we had Ghost Story. Cold Days, Skin Game. Then Peace
Cold
Talks.
Days and Skin Game. Yes, okay. And I remember the plots of those, essentially. Which seemed a very classic Dresden at that time. But Battlegrounds and Proving Grounds really felt like, oh, things are really changing. I will never forget Skin Game's parkour. Ugh, it lives in my head.
Changes literally changed the status quo, and then Ghost Story obviously is like very different. By the way, Ghost Story comes back in this. We're going to see some boys we haven't seen in a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is great. But Cold Days is really out there to establish the new status quo, and then Skin Game is kind of like, I mean, it's literally about, okay, Harry, you're the Winter Knight now. Can you do your job and still be Harry Dresden? Like, Cold Days was kind of like that, but it was very much his first real case on the job, as it were. So, like, Skin Game is more like, hey, guess what? We're really going to ask you to do some dumb shit here, so are you going to be able to pull it off? But then, Peace Talks and Battlegrounds is, like, so dynamic. And 12 months really so far feels like, it's almost like a reverse of, like, where Ghost Story was, right? Where Ghost Story was like, man, shit's real fucked up and weird, and Harry's a ghost, right? And, like, we got to live with that. And then this is kind of like, he has to deal with a lot of sudden stuff over time. 12 months is a slow rebuild. It's like, hey, our status quo is really fucked up, and Jim Butcher talked about this because he tried to go straight from Battlegrounds into writing Mirror Mirror, which will be the next Dresden Files book, and he was like, it wasn't working. And I think it's because he, as the writer, and Harry Dresden as the character, really needed to kind of that reset to status quo, like to find the new status quo, find the new normal. And so far, like I said, that's what 12 months seems like, while also like slowly building the not just, the like I said, the status quo, but also the world building after like some stuff happened.
Yeah, like I said, I do own 12 months. It's just in my list, so I will get through it as soon as I get through that. And I don't know if I'll have any be able to share my thoughts really, but we'll see. Ooh. All right, but with that, let's move on. So, moving on next, we got Andromeda approaches. They say, "Howdy, Lucky and Meg. I hope you're having a good week. It's aggressively okay. Question: have y'all tried to complete a new high difficulty quest we got on the Bleached Earth? I want to know if you had any tips for taking out the Bane of the Trojans." Ugh. Sorry, I tried. I got my ass handed to me twice. I'm like, nope, I'll come back to this later.
No, I haven't done not even the regular like free quests. I think they started like last night, and like I said, I was in a real funk, so no, I haven't taken a crack at them. Actually, no, it would be last night. It'd be a couple nights ago. Like I said, I've been juggling a lot of different things, so I haven't thought about it too hard. I will probably take a gander over this weekend just to get the limited time missions out of the way. So we'll see. If anybody else has any setups or tips, you can leave them into comments or talk about it in our Discord. People do occasionally chat about setups and stuff there. Sorry about that. I was tucking myself back in after I literally got up out of my chair.
Oh, but there's a second part to this, excuse me. P.S. I still know I have a long way to go, I'm sure, but I've officially started Endwalker and can't wait to see the story. It will unfold for me. Boy, howdy, you're in for a trip. Lucky cried a lot.
Yeah,
I did.
So I'm just hearing soaking in my head.
Oh, this is a shotgun. Sorry, Code Vein 2 things. Just slight tangent. Well, not slight tangent. Code Vein 2 does something that I think is actually really cool, and one of the weapon types you get is just a gun with a bayonet. So your quick attack is basically you just slicing with a bayonet and a combo, but your heavy attack is just firing the gun.
That's nice.
It is nice. It's like I said, I'll talk about it more in depth later about my initial impressions and stuff. But there are things there's things that are not clicking for me in Code Vein 2, but there are things that are. But I was looking at this gun, I'm like, what is this? And I looked at the ammo type and it's shells, and I was like, oh, it's a shotgun. Well, that's gonna be fun for close combat. Oh yes, no, that was also my build in the first game as well, which was why I went immediately back into it. Lucky is a man of constants. I do like experimenting here and there, but I usually find myself going back to the same thing. It's the same thing with Nioh. Nioh has fucking 10 different weapon types and over the 3 games, and I've picked the same weapon every single fucking time. I'm a simple bitch. I like my Kusurigama. It spins.
I mean, as long as you can find a consistency, I'm trying to think about. I've played a few sparkling Souls-likes and a few actual Soulsborns in my time, and I'm not really sure which one out of the classics I've gravitated towards, other than probably some manner of sword type moveset. Usually because swords are pretty balanced in those games.
Well, that's the great thing I think about Nioh, because Nioh does have you put points into a build, but you could probably pick up any weapon and do a build around it and probably come out okay.
Honestly, the advantage I think of having, even if you said that you're like, oh, there's 10 different weapons, that's a good number of different movesets, but that's not that crazy many. So having that many over the eras lets the game developers be able to make sure everything is balanced and you can go out there. Whereas there are, I do think, more than that in terms of over all the different Souls-like games. They've had more weapon classes and you can do weird things. Not to mention that sometimes they get really freaky with it, Bloodborne with trick weapons, literally.
Well, I think Nioh and Team Ninja's character action games put more focus into making the weapons and its systems feel good rather than you just kind of mashing the same 3-hit combo over and over and over again. Nioh is a system where you actually depending on where you hit buttons and if you're hitting certain directions, you'll do different things. And Nioh has the additional ability that you can change up what button combinations do different things. Because, as much as we, we have, the Soulsborne formula here, we have to remember that Nioh is not actually a Soulsborne game. It is a character action game, more closer to, Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry. It's just that we really like the respawn enemies if you die mechanic.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely some room for actually a complete aside, but a fun fact. Mandalore Gaming just put out a short video on the original Rogue, from which roguelikes are named. And did kind of talk about this a little, and I think it's a good one that you can kind of see where some of the DNA is, because the original Rogue is a procedurally generated dungeon that completely resets every time you die, down to what colors of potions do what kind of thing, right?
Right.
Like complete resets. So there are lots of games that have it in its DNA. In that sense, I think the reason why we started saying that Demon Souls and Dark Souls were kind of like roguelike, but they are less roguelike than other aspects, and they kind of grew out into be their own genre. I think you can see the impact, much like how anything can be a roguelite these days, which isn't even, sometimes I don't, excuse me, sorry, hiccupy again. Sometimes I don't even think it's deserved, but you can see where the impact Dark Souls has left on the action RPG or even non-RPG character action games. But it's where even if they're not really that similar, if they're a little bit in the neighborhood, people will make comparisons, and I do think that in a lot of cases developers try and learn lessons from those things about how to balance them out, because despite everything, Soulsborns are popular.
Yeah. But like I said, I'll give a lot more thoughts on Nioh 3 and Code Vein 2 and the Free Talk segment.
Yep.
But speaking about Endwalker, yes, like I said, we've talked about this to death, but one of the probably Dawn Trail's biggest problem is that it came after Endwalker. That, as we have said before, Endwalker is the ending of a story, and it ends on a really good high. And it's emotional and everything I fucking wanted. So, I'm excited for you. As with always, once you actually beat it, you will get asked the question.
We always like to know how that one turns out.
Yes. There's no wrong answer, but doesn't mean I still won't judge you for it. So, we will see. But you still got some time before that.
Depending on that, yeah. That's literally at the literal end of the X-Pack. The 6.0 of it anyway. But yeah, when I did it on stream, the gang took bets. Honestly, you saying that Dawn Trail's biggest sin is that it has to come after Endwalker, which I think is true. Genuinely, I think that's why some people are the way they are, because Dawn Trail takes a lot of flack, and it's yeah, it's not as tightly written as Endwalker, but it doesn't have 10 years of setup in front of it either. But my immediate thought was Endwalker's problem is that it has to come after Endwalker. I was there for kind of the waning days of the patch content, and some people were kind of over the patch cycle of Endwalker even, because it was not the same as, the front half. All this and more if you, we talk about it on the show as well, but you can see a lot of my live responses and my discussions with, the whole Crow Mafia gang as we do content in 14 streams.
Alright, so with that, we're gonna move on. The next one comes from the Tyrant King. Fabregas said that Kenichi is rising from the dead, checks calendar, 14 years later. Oh, actually, Megan, did you hear about that?
Oh, yeah. It was posted in our Discord, but I also saw it on Twitter. Yeah, no, we're getting a Kenichi sequel series. It's crazy.
The Master Arc.
It's pretty cool. I'll have to keep up on that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm laughing at Code Vein 2. Okay, so I'm using a shotgun with a bayonet, alright? So I already got a gun. The game just gave me a bow, and I equipped that in a separate slot. So I am gun and bow right now. I'm just like, what?
You a completely separate ranged slot? Okay, it's pretty funny.
I don't hate it. I'm just hoping maybe I'm hoping later there's other maybe guns I can equip. It's a little silly. It's a little silly. Anyways, question. Hey guys, we're Persona 30th this year. Do you think we'll finally get P6? Also, do we have a date for the Mahoya movie, or is it still in development hell? Anyway, that's it for me. Sending good vibes your way. Wah, 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 wah. And hope you have a great evening. Yes, Mahoyo is in development hell because frickin' Uvo Table is
busy.
They're super busy.
They're frickin' contracted out for several different projects. So yeah,
Mahoyo
like I said,
is they
still
are working
in dev hell.
I know they are working super hard on the Demon Slayer's trilogy. Probably working on movie 2 right now. I don't know if they're still working on the Mahalia movie at the same time, but we have not been getting updates on it. Honestly, there's a lot more marketing for Demon Slayer than there is for the Mahalia movie.
I mean, I
think
feel
they just
the Mahalia movie was just like, I think it was with another bundle of Fate project announcements, and they were just like, yeah, we're adapting Mahalia next. That's our next Fate thing.
Well, I continue to be excited for it. Also, yes, I do think that we're gonna get the I don't know if we're gonna get. I think this is the year for a fucking P6 announcement.
Yeah, we're not gonna get P6 this year. Like, that's the thing.
Oh.
I don't think that, like, what, Metaphor was only, what, 2 years ago, technically?
Was it 2 years ago? Jesus!
Was it early 25 or was it in 24? I thought it was in 24. Like I said, that's not strictly, I think, like, literally 2 years ago. Late 24, yeah. So it's not literally 2 years old yet, but it was 2 calendar years ago. So, yeah, I don't think that they would turn around from that and like be in a place where they're going to be able to dump Persona 6 this year, like after doing their big pushed, original IP project. Also, P4 Revival is out there somewhere. Like, they announced that super early.
I wouldn't be surprised if that came out this year.
That I could see, because it is
at least got a release date.
It's a remake of a game they're working on again for, like, technically, like, the third time. So yeah, we could see that based on where they're coming and going from these sort of things. Cause, like, if I had to guess, I don't know exactly how Atlas is set up, but it was P3 Reload was early 24, I'm pretty sure, and then Metaphor was late 24. That indicates to me that they've got a couple of different teams. And chat, let me know if I am misremembering how old P3 Reload is, but I'm pretty sure it's not that old. But we did that run. That indicates to me that they have at least 2 teams working in parallel, because these days you do not release video games within 12 months of each other without multiple teams, right?
It just doesn't happen.
So I'm gonna guess, yeah, it was February 24. Okay, so yeah, it was about the same mark. Okay, that probably means I should get off my ass and finish that. Maybe I'll do that for my. I'm weighing, what video game do I need to put my February time in? It should probably be P3 Reload. Let me shuffle my stack of my backlog on my desk and put that to the top. But I would assume then the P3 Reload team forked into P4 Revival, right?
I hope so.
Makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
But then that means that presumably the P6 team would be the Metaphor team, who had to still finish their game for another 12 months. Now Metaphor didn't have any DLC, I don't think. Whereas P3 did. Obviously, they had episode Aegis to put out and some follow-along stuff. But the P4 Revival trailer was super rough and super rushed, because it was just a known quantity they were working on a P4 remake, and people kept asking, like, actors about casting. I think it was not directly, like, his fault, but, like, Yuri Lowenthal was pretty insistent that he's like, no, I know you guys keep asking me. I have not been cast as Yosuke for a P4 remake. It has not happened. And then Atlas was like, oh shit, we have to admit we're making P4. But there hasn't been a peep about P6 yet. So yeah, we'll probably get a very early teaser this year, I would assume, with the 30th, along with a couple of other spin-off games. Now the question is, will we go back in time to P3 Reload Universe spin-off games, or are we still making P5 spin-off games, chat? But we'll probably get a teaser. It will probably be very, very minimal. I bet it'll be green. But yeah, I'm still thinking it will probably be on the level of, like, that first P5 teaser. You are a slave, want emancipation. Like, that's probably the level for a P6. Like, you'll probably get a color palette and maybe get some vague ideas on a theme, but the Persona titles have been really successful for a lot of years. They've made Atlas a lot of money. They are kind of, like, changing their formula very slowly. I think between Metaphor having no, like, tack-on DLCs and them doing episode Aegis to, like, do the extra episode for P3 Reload, I'm pretty sure P6 won't have a golden or royal version. Like, I just think that we may finally have moved past that. I think actually, if I remember rightly, I think Sega and Atlas actually talked about this, where they're like, yeah, we actually have a problem making game sales because people wait like a year to buy the game on a discount because they don't know if we're gonna re-release the game again. Like, I think they talked about how Metaphor's sales were hurt because people were worried there would be a I don't know what you'd call Metaphor Refantasio, Royal, but they were worried there would be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that kind of ate into their sales a little bit because people are so used to their style of doing this that I think they are going to change. But that probably means that they have to plan for that, so they might have gone through some rewrites. Oh, God knows what the fucking themes of a P6 will be. Like, I don't even know, man.
I don't know, but...
Fantasy. Personally, as much
as
I will say, I don't mind the school stuff as much, and it does give the game structure. If they wanted to flex a little and do college-age characters, that could be cool.
Oh, man, no, I think I would love that. Make it so that, like, taking classes are, like, optimal, like, not optimal, optional and whatnot.
Like, I would still say there would probably be mechanics you could do with that, because I don't know a lot about Japanese universities, but I feel like if you just, like, didn't show up for classes and didn't show up for your exams, you'd be in trouble eventually.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't want to say it was, like, tacked on, because there was a lot of stuff integrated into the school, but there was definitely a certain point where, like, I mean, you literally don't go to school in P5 for a while. You're faking being dead. Like, they P5 really stretched the like, credulity of you are a high school student who has to go to school every day still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, genuinely, I think P4 was probably their best version of that, just because, of course you go to school every day. You're in the middle of nowhere. It sucks here. You're gonna walk to school every day. You're gonna see Yosuke's dumbass in dumbass in the trash can. You'll talk to Yukiko at the front gate. Say hi to Funky Student. You always gotta say hi to Funky Student. And move on from there. But, like I said, we'll see. We'll probably see a teaser this year.
That's gonna be exciting. All right. So with that, last but not least, it's Agent 418 who says, "Hello, Lucky and Mega. Have a good weekend, y'all." Same to you, buddy. Thank you very much.
Smile, thumbs up. Honestly, they played around a little. Somebody in chat saying P5X, they're a little less cowardly about older party members. They kind of started that with P5S, with Strikers, where we also got a cool old guy on the team.
Strikers was so good, though.
Strikers was really good. I think, honestly, the only thing that makes me sad about Strikers is that they couldn't do any kind of, like, thematic integration with Royal, because that was also parallel development. But yeah. Strikers is a really, really good kind of, like, postscript season, I would say, to, like, the original P5 ending.
Yeah. Well, actually, Megan, did you ever beat Royal?
No, I still have not gotten to the extra content of Royal. It's one of those things that I keep meaning to go back to, but it is a really weird case to, like, go so whole hog ham on those games, and then, you got to do it all over again, and then hit all your bonus content. I'm pretty sure I was on the line to make sure we did the extra months. But yeah, no, did not finish Royal. Honestly, I think another sign that's a dated system for them to do that with Atlas is, like, yeah, play the whole S game again. There's some good additions to Royal, though. Some very, very funny, weird things. Doesn't make a lick of sense, though. Some of it.
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Thieves secret hideout brain space where we play card games.
Right, but with that, we are done with Mailbag. Everyone, thank you so much for your questions and comments, and I look forward to seeing them next week as well.
Yeah. And that means we will move to Free Talk after a little break. Alrighty then. That means it's time for Free Talk, where we have a couple of things. First up, New Servant Deets, because of Flora, and I am actually glad that I waited, because she has a skill upgrade when you finish the event story. So it was good to hold off. Anyway, Flora, new welfare alter ego, so she's 4-star. It's a little bit more on the HP than attack, but again, not crazy on that extreme. She is 3 quick, 1 arts, 1 buster. So, shocking, I know. The flower one is green. But we have average hits and higher than average NP gain. If I recall correctly, having just done these notes earlier today, she's 0.59, I think, with 4 hits on everything. So pretty normal stuff. So I will phrase this as her NP normally is it's pretty interesting both ways, but the normal version you'll see is quick support, which makes the field heaven for 3 turns.
Ooh.
Is a 20% team battery, a 10% on attack buff, where all your allies generate 10% NP when they perform a normal attack, 30 crit stars instantly, and a 2k to 4k heal depending on your NP level, so basically a 4k heal. So already pretty solid. The overcharge effect is a brand new type of effect, which people have been talking about since she was released. So, based on your overcharge level, it grants attack up field for 3 turns. And so this will give your whole field 20 to 40% attack up. However, the buff is on the field, so it cannot be cleansed. I also believe it can't be necessarily nullified either, because it's on the field, so it's not attached to servants. And unlike buffs which switch the battlefield type, which are usually tagged to your servant, because it's tagged on the servant, the attack up doesn't go away if Flora dies. It is also stackable. So if you max out your overcharge level, which with this servant will not be hard, you can get 40% attack up guaranteed for 3 turns, regardless of if then, say, I don't know, Chen Gong sends Flora to the Shadow Realm, you know? Like, you're looking at stacks of buffs that will persist even after the servant is relocated. So yeah, getting very experimental in the post-game here. So, her skills, first skill is a targetable Guts for 1 ally, 1 time 3 turns, 1k to 3k, and is a 20 to 30% attack up for 3 turns, and then it charges Flora's NP specifically 20 to 30%. So it's her 30% battery, and it's a single target Guts and attack up for an ally. Second skill is party-wide. It gives you 10 to 20% quick up for the party, 20 to 30% crit up for everybody, another 50 to 100% crit up on quick specifically, and also an on-attack buff where when your allies land quick cards, they get 10% NP on quick. Quicks on quicks on quicks on quicks. Yeah, we're basically making the 4-star Scotty.
Yeah, about to say.
Except you actually want to use her NP and it will go in quick chains. It's a little crazy. Real good stuff all around. Obviously, the 20% quick up and the 30% crit up for 3 turns for your whole team's not a lot, but it goes together really well. And it does mean that I'm pretty sure if you're landing a quick card hit with her after you've used skill 2 and her NP, you're generating 20% NP per free every quick card, on top of the fact that quick cards do have NP gen. You might be doing plus 130% crits on those quick cards.
Ooh.
That's just passive. That's just with her in the team comp. We haven't accounted for any other supporters or attackers. Now, her final skill is a 10 to 20% NP battery for the whole team, which means she herself is 50% because she has a 30 for herself and a 20 for everybody later. It gives everybody on the squad +1 overcharge levels for 1 time 3 turns, and also gives her one of those, regeneration buffs at the end of the turn. It gives everybody on the squad +1 overcharge 1 time 3 turns. So if you don't mind waiting a few turns, you will get lots of free overcharge levels. This is why I said Flora is really good at generating that overcharge for that attack up field. Also, after you clear the event, this is the skill that upgrades and adds an optional version to switch her to dark mode and change her NP for 5 turns. She does also, by the way, have a different sprite if you do the flip. So she doesn't have different Ascension art, but she kind of has a costume built in. Very fun. So if you activate dark mode, you basically get the evil version of her NP. It makes the battlefield hell for 3 turns. Gives all enemies 50 to 100% instant kill resist down for 3 turns, and gives them -1 charge, and also puts a 20% crit resistance down, NP resistance down, and defense down on the field for 3 turns. The defense down, by the way, that's with overcharge, so that scales.
Ooh. And
it still gives you 30 stars. And I'm pretty sure the way this works is these are on the field, which means the NP resistance down, which means basically the reverse of NP damage up. Enemies take more damage from NPs, enemies suffer more damage from crits, enemies have defense down, so they suffer more damage from normal attacks at all. All of those are on the field, so they persist between waves. So you can choose to give your whole party a big attack buff, or you can debuff the shit out of your enemies for basically 3 turns running. Honestly, again, really good design. I'm kind of surprised it took them 10 years to do it, but that's a pretty cool idea to make debuffs matter for 3-turn style farming, Because usually, debuffers are not as highly valued as self-buffers because, well, those guys I've just debuffed are all dead now.
Mhm.
So now you actually, if you make the debuffs persist on the field, you can get a lot done. Passives are Magic Resistance A. She also has a special version of Divine Core, which not only gives her another 20% debuff resist, so her debuff resist total is like 30, I think. Very good, as most alter egos usually are. But also she has a 20% passive buff removal resist as well. While she's on the field, the whole party gets plus 20% healing, which also, by the way, means that 4K heal is not a 4K heal, it is bigger. Whenever a Guts on her activates, your whole party gets 10% NP, or every other ally, I think, gets 10% NP, technically. And also, while she's on the field, everybody else in the squad has plus 10% NP gain. So, this is a free unit, everybody. This is a 4-star that if you do the event, you're guaranteed NP5 at all the coins you could use. This is crazy. Crazy support unit. Great stuff for quick in a budget package. Like we said earlier, like this could be the 4-star Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got big heals, you've got guts, you've got crits, the field effects. If you have anybody who actually plays with the heaven or hell like battlefield traits, which I believe Dante uses both, for instance, you've got support for that. It's great stuff. Can't wait to read this event in a couple of years as usual.
Exciting.
Yeah, Flora seems great. But speaking of events, that means with our new servant deets, it's time to also do the Valentine's pregame and talk about the upcoming Valentines for 2026. I think the subtitle was something like, I forgot to actually copy it over directly, but it's something like, a never-ending river of chocolate or something. We're going back to the classics. So, it's going to be Valentine again, kids. It means you're going to be competing in a point ladder to obtain enough lock-on Chacos and surprise Chacos for all your servants. So yes, point event. You just need Fuyuki Clear to participate. Both story and free quests are both in there. Now, once again, it's Valentine's. We are pretty locked into the formula here. You will need about 3 million points to get all the rewards. But unless you have literally every servant, you will not need that many surprise Chacos to hit everybody. But yes, it's, as usual, a pretty tall point ladder. Main story is going to be pretty streamlined. It's just 7 acts plus a prologue and epilogue. And I think, based on the reading on the wiki, and, people can correct me, of course, if I am wrong, but looking at it, I think you just need to hit certain point values and clear at least one free quest to clear. I don't even know if these are time-gated. Like, I didn't see a release schedule or anything, so I think it's just, if you've got the points, you can finish the story. And that should not be too many. Actually, let me double-check it, because I just realized I meant to write it down in my notes, but I did not. So let's go to the wiki and double-check what the highest point value unlock is. And while that is loading, I will also say that completing the main story will get you a variety of simple rewards. You're going to be looking at about 7 Saint Quartz, 1 copy of the 3-star CE, and at the end, you will obtain a Holy Grail and Andromeda's Valentine's CE. Actually, no, it smashes. That's Andromeda's unlocked after. That's right, I forgot. We've given MASH yet another Valentine's CE. But yes, you get a Valentine's at the end. The highest level point value you need is going to be 500k. So you gotta do 1/6 of the point ladder to finish, at least. Now, since this is just Fuyuki Clear, enemies are going to be pretty simple. In your main quest, you're looking at sub 200k HP. A couple of them have a couple break bars. We will be still doing the 6 ads on screen thing. There isn't a lot I need to brief you about because it's relatively short and relatively simple. But there are a couple of things I want to let people know about ahead of time, as this is the pregame. First of all, when you get to Act 3, you're going to have a dialogue choice. If you pick the first option, you will get 30% NP damage up for 3 turns when you start the third wave of the fight, which will be the boss battle. If you pick the second, everybody in your squad gets 30% battery when you start. So personally, I would probably go with the battery, but you never know. If you're going full loop skis, you might just, decide to get the extra NP damage. That'll be against a Berserker boss, by the way, who only has 75k HP and no break bars, so you're fine. We tank those. The final boss, though, is an Avenger. I wonder if we mean anything by this. But 102, 145, and 204k HP, so 3 break bars. You must put Andromeda in the front line, either the story support version or your own, if you've got one. Your enemy will get crit resistance, stacks of damage resistance, but also will get an attack down and a poison. And all of these positive buffs should be removable because the damage resistance stacks will slowly be stripped away every turn gradually by story buffs. So, you'll have a story buff trigger, which will remove one layer of the 15% damage resistance they've got, and also give you positive buffs, such as, healing, attack up. You got increased attack for 5 turns, debuffs the enemy to, lose 10k HP, etc., etc. So, our usual fun story stuff. And once you break its bars, you'll have to deal first with, it gaining attack and you getting attack down, and then the last one will be you get cursed, you get 30% chance to be stunned every turn, and the defense down. But it doesn't fire NP right away. So all in all, like I said, should be fairly straightforward. Now what about your free quests? Since you do need to clear at least one to prog the main story. These should all be fairly monoclass, relatively low level. Your best 3-3-3 is going to be a Berserker node that has 135k HP. You can get a 2-2-1, which is Sabers with a boss at 200k HP. And if you want to go whole hog, the maximum level node is 1-3-2 with 80k as the maximum, and it is a caster node, as you would expect from, Andromeda being a rider. Now, what will it take to clear these? Well, you do have a relatively small bonus list to work with. Andromeda, of course, is the brand new servant, gets plus 100% damage, plus 50% bond. And the following, Nero Bride, Sei Shonagon, Columbus, Murasaki, Semiramis, Mixer, Karen, Johanna, Bazette, and Mash get 50% damage and 20% bond up. Mash is 5% for your whole party instead. But she does get included in the 50% damage club. Now, you'll have access to a shop from this that will give you a selection of foes, EXPs, leaves, and materials such as fangs, stingers, spinal fluid, crystals, ashes, soaps, feathers, reactor cores, gallstones, comet shards, bloodstones, and ether photons, which are still pretty new, less than a year old. You'll also get access to Archer, Rider, and Assassin statues, 1 lore, and also 4 copies of the Point CE. You can also exchange your extra chocolates for 100k QP a pop, so there is incentive to continue farming your lock-ons and surprise chocos, even if you have all of your appropriate servant scenes. Your points ladder, in addition to the many surprise and loco choco you have, will contain apples, mana prisms, all your command codes, 5 summon tickets, the 5th CE, sadly, as usual, in the over 1 million range, which is always a little annoying that I have to get my maximum point spread. I have to do most of the work on the point ladder. But will also contain a handful of materials like chains, snake gems, and scarabs, plus 2 more lures. So you have a selection of 3 crystallized lures, 4 if you do the challenge quest, which does require a Solomon clear. I should mention that's usually how challenge quests go, but, if you haven't done it before. Now, for banners, it's Valentine's, so we'll have a little variety here. Obviously, you're going to have Andromeda as a brand new limited 5-star. Look forward to a wanted soonish. I'm going to pause working on the 14 TTRPG video to work on wanted this weekend. But also, you will get an extended Semiramis banner, because I think Semiramis is actually going to show up in this event story, and also as a previous Valentine's servant. And we also go through continuing our Valentine's tradition, where we're going to get a rate up for every permanent and story-locked and permanent female 5-star servant. A lot of F's in there. This year, they are doubling up on rate ups. They are double rate ups, mind you. So keep that in mind. These rotations will only be for a day, and do remind also that they count separate pity trackers. You will not keep your pity between rotations of the daily banner. But you will only be able to roll female servants during this block and have a selection for your various, as I said, permanent and story locked. So, that should be Valentine's. Should be kind of same as usual, but, we have a lovely collection of brand new Valentines to get in. I'm certain that next week for Mailbag, people will already be asking us what our favorites are. Yeah. Next show should be recorded on the 6th, so the event will have been out for a couple of days at least. Probably have a few. And, like I said, that's the pre-game. That's what we got. Look forward to more Andromeda info soon. And, everybody, good luck climbing that ladder, getting those chocos. It's going to be a very, very fun selection. Actually, before we move into free talk, let me look at what it says. Yeah, it's from the period of the servant that was first after the last Valentine's was Takasugi Shinsaku, so everything up from him until now.
Hmm.
So obviously, that's, all of our new Samurai Remnant friends, everything from Guda Guda, all the summer fairy nights, etc., etc., and so on. Sorry, I hope that parenthetical stays. I just tabbed over to check the return gifts. The latest, obviously, will be Iori, and it's Buddha statues, parentheses, a lot.
Listen, I did a lot of carving in game, okay?
Oh, yeah. No. That's the correct choice. It's just, I love the parenthetical there, so I'm like, I hope that stayed. I hope we keep that. But, yeah, that is the pregame, and that is going to take us out of Free Talk. You mentioned talking about them more later. Do you want to talk about Nioh 3 and Code Vein 2?
I mean, I do, but I have a question. Weren't you supposed to do a fan serving Friday?
No, remember. I say remember, but I switched it up a little. I want the poll to run the whole week, or the whole month, not the whole week. So we're going to let it end and then do it, first time start of next month. So it runs the full, block.
Okay, first show of the month. Okay. Lucky
Yes.
you forgot.
That's okay. I think this is like literally the third month I did that.
Well, it only happens once a month, so it doesn't stick in my brain. So, yes, we are in the What's Up zone, and yes, Lucky would like to talk a little bit about Code Vein 2 and Nioh 3. Because they're both pretty interesting. Code Vein 2, of course, sequel to Code Vein, which I will say is probably a bit of a niche game. It has the reputation of being anime Souls, and I do not believe that most people consider it as difficult as one would consider a Soulsborne game, but also does not necessarily have the depth and complexity that one would expect in it. Code Vein 2 follows that up pretty well in that kind of vibe, but I do think might be lacking in some areas. So first off, like I said, it's a game called Anime Souls. It is very, very high on the anime aesthetic, which I consider a plus. And does have a lot of interesting systems to it, like you have like a lot of things left. You have, weapons. You have a second weapon. You have an offensive slot, a defensive slot. Your blood code and your jail. So your weapons are just as you said, are just as you would think. They're your basic ass weapons. You got swords, dual knives, big axes, big hammer, bayonet. What are all the weapon types? Shoot, I don't have them handy. And stuff, so what you would see, but I do want to note that the weapon types are not what the offensive and defensive things are. Those are completely separate. Your offensive thing seems to be some sort of offensive special ability you get. Like right now, I only have the bow, which again I say is super fucking hilarious because my standard weapon is a shotgun with a bayonet, which is my opinion quite fun. You basically dodge in there, stab people with the bayonets, and then immediately hit heavy attack to blast someone point blank. It's fun.
Always very fun. Yeah.
Yes. But having my actual range option being a bow, tickles me in ways. It's very silly, but I'm not against it. I'm just hoping that like in the future there'll be like different weapons in there. Like in the defensive things, defensive is basically how you set up how you want to block and stuff. The game starts you off with a shield that only reduces damage, but pretty quickly you can get a shield that nullifies damage. What I'm using right now is actually something that gives me the parry ability. If I time it right, I can knock enemies back, but it takes up my resource, which is called I-Core. Very fun. And there's probably like other such modifications like that. Then you have your blood code, which you can basically consider your quote unquote class. Basically, different blood codes lets you spec into different things with different effects, and the more you use them, the better they get, which is always fun in my opinion. Then you have your jail, which is basically you can call basically your special attack, your super attack. Basically, you use it to do heavy damage. Usually has a bit of wind up time, and you use it. And if you hit enemies with it, you drain your special resource I-Core, which you use to fuel other things like special abilities and your offensive and defensive abilities. So it has a lot of systems because, like I said, each one of those things can be upgraded and modified in a couple ways. And you don't necessarily have, this isn't a Soulsborne where you have to put points into every individual build. You just have a general level that you can upgrade using Haze, which is the resource, which is also your money resource, by the way. So I kind of like that. You got to, look at your count. It's like, all right, am I trying to save up for my next level, or do I want to go buy a new shiny thing?
The something that I think makes Code Vein, well, too, but Code Vein in general, much closer to the Souls-like zone.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, the character creator, they had a demo for it, and Lucky tinkered around in it. Actually, do I want to? It might take me a minute because I have to upload it to fucking the PlayStation app before I can do it. But let me show you my dapper ass man here. Let me open up the photo mode here. You can kind of see him in the picture I posted with Lavina, who is the 10-foot tall woman, very voluptuous. I kneel. But the character creator is pretty damn good, what I would say. But
a major selling point of the first game, and glad they've kept it up with the sequel.
Mm-hmm. Let me get a good angle on my guy here. Yeah, okay. Then take screenshot. Like I said, it might take some time for this to pop up, but I will show eventually.
Yes, with the old uploading, but we'll get there.
But the character creator is fun. It has a lot of little options, and I've seen some people get pretty crazy with it. Funnily enough, I saw on the official page for the demo and stuff, someone made the prince from Katamari Damacy, even with the giant head things on the side. I don't know how they did it, but they did. I'm just like, oh. So people again get a little silly with it. And again, the aesthetics are pretty good. Like I don't know what I want to call this right now. I'm only slightly in the area. Apparently this game features some sort of time traveling mechanic. I haven't really gotten to play with that. I've just gone I'm just in the first area right now, past the tutorial.
But they did in the promo and stuff. They showed some time things.
Some time things, but we seem to have this kind of we kind of have a Magitech we have a Magitech setting, so we actually have a lot of what do I want to call it? It's that vibe where you combine sweeping cathedrals with fucking machinery a lot.
I don't know if that aesthetic has an exact name, but it is definitely a sort of thing that exists. I guess would it be Gothic industrial? Because that's Gothic. Actual Gothic is giant buttressed cathedrals.
Yeah, no, I am literally inside a giant buttressed cathedral right now, and at the on the floor is 6 tables filled with equipment and computer monitors and stuff. But then at the side of the hairs are just big wooden bookshelves and stuff. I'm in a research facility right now, so it's
definitely is kind of I would say kind of Gothic industrial type.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of games go in similar aesthetics. Honestly, talking about you reminding me of some areas of Nier Automata. That's some not exactly, but definitely Yoko Taro's taken some cues from that same zone before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the game is supposed to be a soft reboot or reimagining from the first one. The first Code Vein actually took place in the God Eater universe, which was a great reveal, I think, but I don't know anything about God Eater, so it kind of went over my head. I just recognized the enemy at the end. I was like, oh. So
I think it made I won't say a lot of people because I don't actually know how big God Eater was previously. It's known, but I don't know if it was mega
God
huge,
Eater has a very dedicated but small fan base, I would say.
Yes, no, I think if you're into God Eater, you're into God Eater. So those people definitely did the DiCaprio point for Code Vein 1. They pogged a little. But obviously, it seems you said that 2 is a soft reboot. I don't know where it stands on that score.
Yes. No, but we still have revenants, which are basically vampires who are trying to live their best life, and humans who are also trying to live this best life. I don't think you're a vampire in the game. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. We're being not great with the story right now. We're doing things, but the story is kind of plain Jane. You wake up, you really don't have a personality. Apparently, you're told you're die once, and someone's going to give you half their heart so you can go do some time travel shit. Apparently, if you get weird powers if you take half a vampire's heart and you equip it on your back, which is what your main character is doing. But we don't really explain anything about your backstory or whatnot. Apparently, you just saved a bunch of people, you died, and now you got shit to do.
The sequel to the anime vampire, we made it even more anime vampire.
Hang on one second. Let me see if I can upload this picture real quick.
Honestly, though, yeah, this is another thing that, like, it's been quite a long time since the first Code Vein came out. It was 2019. So, it's been a few years. But, yeah, you are just reminding me that, like, no, the original Code Vein, and I think Code Vein 2 is in a similar way, really were an anime Souls-like. Like, they were actually cleaving to a lot of the tropes of Dark Souls types games. Right down to just, oh, who are you? I don't know, man. You're just some guy. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out what your deal is.
Maybe I should change my eyes red. I don't know. Something I do appreciate is like when you make your character, you're not locked into it. You can just go to a station in the base and be like, change your appearance. I appreciate that because there are some times that I'm in a character creator. I look at my character and I'm just like, all right, that's cool. I get in the game and I'm just like, oh, I hate it.
I think character creators have gotten a little better about that, but yeah, no, there's definitely some things with some lighting and stuff that have that problem.
But what a lot of people are probably going to weigh this game on is probably its combat, which I'm gonna be saying I've gotten a little bit better at it. Still doesn't feel that great. Movement feels kind of clunky, and your attacks and defenses don't feel like as responsive as they could be. Now, I'll never say that I'm good at these kind of games, and me trying to dodge or block an attack is always going to end 50% with me in failure. But even so, I feel like there's some points where, like, the game is not responsive. I will say something that I think is actually really freaking good, though, is their hitboxing, though. I have literally, like, dodge rolled under some people's attacks and just, like, it's just whiffed, or had a hammer, like, land, like, 2 inches from my foot and not take, a bit of damage, which I think is important. Like, they're very precise with their hits enough, so that's very fun. I heard the inhale.
Yeah, well, I'm joking, but yes, that's definitely the hitboxing thing is a very interesting point. I was just thinking to myself that, like, yeah, usually I like it when hitboxes are very good for me. Sometimes when they're very precise for enemies, it feels annoying. But if it truly cuts both ways, that's very good. If you can dodge or walk out of the way of attacks, properly, then it definitely feels okay. If like, well, I really didn't hit that guy, but he can't hit me, so that like it's what you call it, evened out.
Yeah. Something that would probably be divisive against like some players is that Code Vein 2 has a system where you have a partner, an AI companion, who will, actually take the attention of enemies and do not insignificant damage. They do actually a fair amount of damage. The interesting thing though is your AI companion will do white damage, which the boss can recover from if you aren't getting in there at yourself. So you can't just stand back and let your partner do it. I do believe that they are they're not invincible. They can't get hit, but they don't have like necessarily a health pool or anything. But they will actually help you. Something that I think is really neat though is if you go down, your partner will unsummon itself to revive you. And that has a cooldown with increasing times the more you go down. So even if you're out of health items, because it does the usual Soulsborne thing of giving you so many heals per checkpoint, you can still get in there. And if you play a little defensively, your partner can come back, and if you go down again, they can revive you again. Like as I said, every time you do that, it takes them longer to come back, but it makes battles a bit more survivable, in my opinion, especially when you have the partner. Another thing you do with the partner is you can, I can't remember what it's called, but you can basically combine with them, so you give yourself a stat boost, and you can do some special attacks. Like I said, so it lets you kind of play around with what you can do with them. But, like I said, it makes combat a bit more forgiving than you say, which I think is important with how frustrating it is. Like I said, I'm getting better to it, a bit more to it now, but I definitely feel like this is a game where you have to match the game style of combat rather than have the game, match to your style of combat. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it feels to me.
I understand, yeah. Having played a few different of these kinds of games, including, like I said, I've tried to get into the original, FromSoft style games before. Yeah, there are these types of difficult action RPG games where ultimately you can kind of like, you can do anything, you just have to like figure out what the boss is doing. And there's other cases where like, no, you have to play this game a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm following what you're meaning. And the AI stuff is also really interesting because obviously FromSoft has been going, I want to say, a different way with that, with kind of discovering like how big people were into seamless co-op, and then eventually publishing Elden Ring Night Rain as like realizing that like, oh, people want to play, these difficult, challenging games together. They want to overcome as a group. And obviously, you do have some famous, NPC ads. Obviously, there are some people who would say, if you summon, it's that's not a real win. They're liars, by the way, because guess what? Miyazaki himself personally programmed the summon mechanic versus bosses, so it's okay. I don't think he actually personally programmed it, but it's a system that's in the fucking game. You can summon during bosses in Elden Ring. It's okay. But those obviously are very vincible. They do often do the thing you described where they distract enemies, and that's their vital importance, but, that's for a limited time until they fucking die. And while some of them can, like, heal you and stuff, usually if you go down, it's a full squad wipe, basically. So you're definitely describing the team at Bandai Namco that worked on Code Vein 2 is like, they have not just been, undercover for the past, 7 years making this game, right? They have been paying attention to the landscape of these games and trying to come up with new, unique things they can do. So the game stays difficult, but is doing a fresh thing. And I think it's really interesting given this whole, partnership aspect you're dealing with in the themes, like in the plot, to give you a partner and be like, yeah, no, they're real, they're here, they're doing stuff. Sorry, taking a refreshing breath. Air is good, chat.
Air is good. So I want to say that Code Vein 2, in my opinion, it ranges from basically meh to good, in my opinion. If you want to know Lucky's scale, it's bad, meh, okay, good, great. Meh for a lot of the combat, but good for mechanics and aesthetics. Which means I generally think this game is okay. Like, I am not necessarily having any problems playing it. Bosses are probably not like another thing. Bosses, well, at least the ones that I've fought so far, just seem to be big versions of mobs that already exist. We probably have some like better, more interesting bosses down the line. Like I said, not every game is going to throw you into a super difficult boss minute one, but we will see. Like I said, I am curious to see where this goes, and I got this game for about a week before Nioh 3 comes out, so I'll see how much I can get done before then. But speaking of Nioh 3, out now is the Nioh 3 demo out on PC and PS5. I downloaded the PS5 version, and it's pretty good. I've spent about 13 hours in it, and I will give you some initial impressions on it. So the Nioh 3 demo is basically the prologue and first part of the story, and you are not given a time limit. You are just limited in the areas that you can go to. They've already said that the save data will carry over to the full game, so if you want to prep yourself, it is a great way to get started. Nioh 3 is a game, well, actually, I should say the Nioh series is a series that does not throw anything away and just iterates and improves on it instead. Like I was talking about it before, we have all the weapon types from before, and we might have some new ones. I'm not sure yet, or maybe they'll add them in DLC. But like basically everything from the old games still in Nioh 3, and we just change it up. Instead of things like ninjutsu being its own skill tree, now it is a stance. You can basically switch between samurai and ninja stance. Samurai basically lets you use the stance system of high, low, and mid stance to do stuff, along with the ki pulse, which is good for recovering ki and nullifying yokai pollution in areas. And the ninja stance, this is a change from here, basically gives you ninjutsu on, what do I want to call it? Ninjutsu on charge. Basically, that means the more you hit enemies, your ninjutsu charges up and you can use it. So no longer you have to run back to the shrine to refill your ninjutsu pouch. You just basically hit enemies until you magically create shuriken, caltrops, and whatever other thing you have unlocked. Myodo has also changed. If you remember from Nioh 2, we introduced soul cores, which were basically little enemies could drop these soul cores that would give you the ability to summon to do one of their attacks in combat as you were, a half yokai shiftling. We don't have that, as you are no longer a half yokai shiftling, but now we have the Amyodo box, which basically lets you equip soul cores and that to basically summon said attacks, as it were. Basically, you have two yins. Was it yin or is it yang? I can't remember. You either have it's 2 and 6 of either yin and yang. So basically, you can get up to 2 yokai attacks, or this is how they changed it before. If you equip them into the passive slot, you get talismans. So you don't have to go down the Amyodo skill tree anymore. You can just equip the soul cores in the passive slots and get talismans that way. Like I said, I'm not entirely fully sure how the system works here because Nioh 3 has gone more open field than the previous linear mission-based structures of the previous 2 games. While there is still areas that are mission structures, they are actually quite separate from the main fields where you can just kind of run around, explore, stab dudes in the back, and generally fuck around in. But there are such areas now called crucibles, which are basically little special areas or special arenas that have their own rules that sometimes have special enemies in there which you can defeat to empower your soul cores. It's a lot of systems. So Nioh 3 is a game that some people will mistakenly believe is a Soulsborne due to its, you have to gather Amrita for leveling up, and, if you rest at a shrine, enemies appear. But nay, you have to remember this is a game developed by Team Ninja, who has developed such games as Ninja Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden 2, Ninja Gaiden 3, and most recently Ninja Gaiden 4. Though these are very firmly in the character action genre, and at its heart, Nioh is a character action genre. A lot of emphasis is put on pulling off specific moves by hitting specific buttons and combinations on your pad, and putting a lot of flair into it. Like I said, each weapon feels decidedly unique, and you can build up a personal you can build it basically how you want with the skill trees you're given. Basically every weapon has its own skill tree. You get points to put into things and develop the kind of way you want to play.
And it does seem like they've, like you said, simplified that skill tree system by reducing non-weapon skill trees, basically.
Yeah. You still have a ninjutsu skill tree, but because basically what you now have samurai and ninja points that you unlock by doing various things, and when you get a point, you can put it in. Samurai points go into the samurai tree, which is what stance and whatnot, which unlocks such thing, and ninja points go into the ninja tree, which is like ninjutsu and the weapon trees. Lucky, and once again, he's a sucker for this Kusarigama. I have gone all in on that, so I've spent a lot of points in that area. The game kind of wants you to switch between doing samurai and ninja, but I will say that is something that doesn't necessarily click with me. I was never very good at the high, middle, low stands of Nioh 1 and Nioh 2. They had their uses and stuff, but I usually just went to a certain stance and just kind of stuck with it. I made it work. Which I guess, considering, I didn't beat the final DLC of Nioh 1. I never finished I never beat Lady Yodogiri, who was secretly the Nine-Tailed Fox. But I did beat all the game and the DLC for Nioh 2. So I guess there was method to my madness, and we're gonna see how it works in Nioh 3. Like I said, I don't know if ninjutsu is as broken in Nioh 3 as it was in Nioh 2. So far, I don't want to say it's not. Even if it does recharge, it seems like the damage it can do is less. I don't know. Maybe if I get some ninjutsu power ups, that might do it. But I don't know. Like I said, it's early. I put 13 hours into it, and I've only gotten the open areas up, and I think I've unlocked most of the systems. There's a couple that I haven't, but we will see. But with Nioh 3, like I said, Nioh 3 is a series that I really like because it's actual Japanese history, but told with a lens of scary supernatural yokai. The setting for this one actually right now is it actually takes, as I said, this is another time traveling one. I think we're really getting a lot of use out of this theme recently, and I don't know why. But you play as Takachiyo Ieyasu, a grandchild to Tokugawa Ieyasu. I said that wrong. It's Tokugawa, Takachiyo Tokugawa. Fuck. So you're playing Ieyasu's grandkid, and the first area you go back to is back when Ieyasu Tokugawa was fighting Takeda Shingen, and the battle you come in is just when Takeda Shingen kicked Ieyasu's ass, and Ieyasu was fleeing, but with yokai now. It's kind of crazy, but it's always fun because, like I said, because they always do pull on actual historical fact. Like, I got done with the missions, and I actually found a hidden mission in which you learn about what was her name? Otazu no Kata, who was one of the few female daimyos in that time, who was interesting and is particularly known for being a headache for Ieyasu for a little bit before he had to siege her castle. Also known as Lady Tsubaki because on her grave a bunch of fucking Camillas, bloomed on the graves of her and her maids. It's a little crazy. This woman literally, charged out to meet the forces with, her fucking with her ladies wielding a Nananaka. It was kind of crazy. But like I said, this is one of the reasons why I like Nioh, because it does a lot. It does teach you a lot about history. It's like how I learned about William Tell and whatnot. They turned William Tell into, a fucking a Scottish samurai in Nioh 1, but it still had a lot of parallels to actually what happened. So, and Nioh 2 was just...
like you said, that seems to be the vibes they're going for. Is like they're doing something that is, I don't want to say unheard of in Western storytelling, but I kind of feel like is less so with like the alternate history, where a lot of Japanese media is perfectly comfortable with, yeah, so we're doing historical fiction, but also magic is real, because who cares?
No, and it's quite fun. Like I said, like I like it. I'm probably going to be putting a lot of time in Nioh 3 when it comes out, and probably eventually get whatever season pass they get, because Nioh 1 had like 3 big DLC. Nioh 2 had like 3 big DLC.
They'll go 3 for 3.
Yeah, we'll go 3 for 3.
3 by 3 by 3. It's 3's all the way down.
It is 3's all the way down. So I am excited about that. But these 2 games are probably what's going to keep me mostly occupied until Pragmata comes out. When is that? It's this spring? Do we have a release date? Yeah,
I think they had a date.
I remember because I wasn't able to immediately pre-order it. I only got my pre-order in like a couple weeks ago, but it should be enough time.
They waited a while, yeah. Did they release a demo on console yet? I know they wanted to do the... They wanted to do a PC demo first to test, optimize. If they've got a console demo, I should take a crack at it and see. Because it's neat looking, but I have a big backlog in
Steam, but I'm gonna have to double check that.
I'll keep an eye out.
I might check it out.
I'll keep an eye out. Because, as we say, the backlog doesn't go away, and there are more games coming out. But there's definitely, room for a few titles in there.
April 24th. That's what it is.
April, yes, okay.
Just look it up real quick.
I think that's our... Actually, wait, no. I think Saros did also get a release date, and that's in April, I think, as well. That's when I gotta watch out for doing that King Yellow shit.
Karkosha. Well, yeah,
also, genuinely, I really like Rahul Kohli. Like, he's a pretty cool actor, and I've seen him in a few things.
So right now, I want to put, if I was to give it the lucky rating, I put Nioh 3 on good to great. Like I said, it's basically everything I know from the previous 2 Niohs. A little tweaked up for what it does. Tweaked up for like for what it's doing now. Plus, it's like going from linear missions to a open. I won't say open world because it's not perfectly open world, but open field. I believe.
Open field sounds like the right way, because that sounds like I think a thing people can grasp around. It's not a complete open world, but there are open areas.
Yes.
Which honestly, also spoiler, I think that's a better form of game design than just going lol open world now. Open zones are cool, but you also have the room to narrow down. Obviously, not every game needs to be that way, but definitely I would say for like an action style game that works.
I think like my preferred open world games now are like those are based in cities, like a la GTA, Sleeping Dogs, and stuff, and hopefully with like Neverness to Everness and Ananta. I like being able just to run around anywhere in a city because that feels weird. But when you just got a bunch of
the classic open world city is like
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think that's where a lot of open world games started. I think it depends on the game. I like open worlds in certain contexts. Definitely, I feel like some of the open world aspects of like Ghost of Yote were kind of take it or leave it. I won't say hit or miss, but we're take it or leave it. You know,
I like the aesthetics of each zone, but
yeah, I like the aesthetics of wandering around, and I like the aspect of like just stumbling into stuff. But then also, you know, sometimes it's just kind of like, yeah, I spend a lot of time just kind of like chilling on my horseback, you know, wandering from place to place, which is, you know, part of the vibe, but also is just kind of, you know, also extending my playtime number. And it's cynical of me, I know, but sometimes it's hard to tell whether that's the intention of the game designers of like, is this actually part of the experience of the emotions of me wandering the open-ended countryside, or is this just so that the game takes more hours to finish?
Mm-hmm.
I generally think Ghost of Yote is not on that scale. Like, I think everything in that was actually intended, but it's a thought to have, because like other games are kind of rough. And it's a thing of like how many times I'll tolerate it. Like, first Breath of the Wild, crazy good. Like, groundbreaking open world game design of like, you know, climbing anything, you know, just by increasing your stamina meter and everything on the map. And like, yeah, there were towers to unlock your map, but you could still see and get around most things. Doing that a second time, rough. Doing that more times than 2 in games that are not called Legend of Zelda, but everybody tried to steal their shoes, steal their style, and pretend it was new. Also not good, as evidenced by how many fucking stamina wheels there are now. So yeah, definitely like interesting to see that kind of distinction.
Mm-hmm. I will say, Nioh 3 is probably a bit more punishing than Code Vein 2. The combat feels really good, and it is pretty responsive. Like I said, I can honestly say that most times when I fuck up is because I blinked. Some of that shit is razor quick, and hecking bosses hurt. Like, I was actually thinking about this. Like, one of the problems that I have, like, I don't have a problem fighting human enemies in Nioh 3 because they're human. I know how a human moves. Like, they can only move their arms, like, in certain ways. You know, the reach of their weapon is the reach of the weapon. There is the boss at the end of the demo is called the Jakotsu Baba. It's basically a giant old woman who has a fucking 2 snakes on her shoulders, one of fire and one of ice. Snakes are fast, y'all, and they're like coiled up, so it's really hard for me to gauge their range. She kicked my ass so many times, 26 times. She killed me before I beat her. And this was with me using like because you can also, you know, summon friends, summon allies to help you. This is with me summoning allies. Like, I have to literally stop, go farm more materials so I can summon more people and go try again. I actually had to look up a guide on like how people beat her because she was kicking my ass that hard. And I was not, you know, processing. All right, I wasn't processing progress. Because generally, like, I'm not against throwing my head against a boss to like figure out how to beat it, but that is usually indicated by making eventual progress. You know, you beat them a little bit more each time. I was not doing that with this boss. I was flailing a lot because this is one of the unfortunate things about, you know, these kind of bosses. Bosses have big health bars and you do not. I could literally, like, if I wasn't careful, I could literally die in like 3 hits within 5 seconds.
Ooh, that's a mean one. But yeah, this is the thing we should say of like, you know, you talked about it earlier, but like, you know, Team Ninja don't fuck around. They've been making ball busting games for years.
Oh yeah.
I won't say before FromSoft because From had a pre Demon Souls era of busting your balls, but definitely
Kingsfield
like
was weird.
Yeah, but like definitely like Ninja Gaiden specifically is known for being a hard ass series of video games.
Also, fucking FromSoft did Armor Core,
Oh,
which was definitely pre Ninja Gaiden. It's a different kind of Buster Balls hard, but it's still Buster Balls hard.
God, I know it. I mean, Armored Core is so cool, but also like sometimes so tedious. But yeah, no, like they're very different feels.
Yeah.
Nioh's doing a very different thing. Like I said, Code Vein 2 seems to be. It is much more in the Souls-like genre, where it is conforming to the tropes of the Souls-likes, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like
forgiving.
they are trying to be more approachable to the audience by actually like putting in quality of life to make it so that you can progress more reliably, which I respect.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Nioh seems to still be like, you know what you're doing. You know what you're getting into.
Go forward, and you're just like, ah!
Brother, you paid for the ticket. You got on the plane.
I did get on that plane, but so I think that's my initial thoughts. I don't know if I'll have anything much more on things. I think my initial impressions are pretty solid. Like Code Vein might like I said, since that might change, but like I said, I got 13 hours into Nioh 3. I'm pretty sure like its aesthetics are pretty good. Especially since I'm pretty sure they're going to be adding like even more enemies to fuck my shit with. Like I said, that is something I want to say is really good about fucking Nioh, the Nioh series. Their fucking yokai designs are fucking amazing. They have a lot of
over the years. It's very, very, very good art team as well.
No, like their art is. It's not like I said. It's Japanese history and like in Japanese history. So you got a lot of the Japanese aesthetic. So it's not. I wouldn't quite say it's like it's not anime. It's just it's semi-realistic, Japanese architecture, which, is my jam. And the yokai stuff is very good. They all some sort of weird and creepy kind of vibe.
Inspired directly, of course, by, the wealth of historical Japanese arts we have.
Mm-hmm. And like every game, they always bust out like a new suite of yokai. Like well, I'm not. I really can't. I really don't because I can't like remember the names off the top of my head. But yeah, no, I've already seen a lot of returning enemies, but they're already doing like new enemies as well, which I think is nice because I know how to deal with the old enemies, and the new enemies, give me something new to look forward to. It's a nice sense of comforting familiarity, but still expectation of something new, which I think is good for like a numbered series. You don't want to reinvent the entire whole damn thing every time, but you don't want to leave everything exactly the same.
Yeah, definitely like a complicated business with video game sequels, but yeah, the kind of like recurring elements. It's funny, that's another thing that like FromSoft is known for with their games is the reason why they can turn out some of those games so fast is lots of recycling. Did we cut a boss, or a mob type from a game? Well, guess what? All the work we did rigging those animations and designing those models, we'll use that in the next one. Fuck it.
Fuck it, we've all...
honestly, FF14 does that a lot. A lot of, they will obviously rig new skeletons if they really need to, but they will reuse a lot of skeletons and model types because, well, it's a Final Fantasy. You expect to see the same sprites just in different colors over and over again.
It's an RPG classic, baby.
So, we can work from that. And it's like, on the one hand, yes, that is a thing that's like, is a sign of tech limitations, is we can only have enough memory to store, so many different types of enemy sprites, so we need more enemies that are higher level. We'll just make skeletons, but they're blue now. They're bleletons. But, it becomes kind of a trope, like the gamers get used to it, and they're just like, well, these skeletons have funny hats now. And more important, they're dangerous.
Skeletons with hats.
That's a very uniquely video game type thing, I think, because, like, tabletop RPGs that I think a lot of the classics of the early video game RPG are based on don't really have a lot of, like, the recolors problem.
Well, no. Because like, a goblin's a goblin, no matter whether it's, it's blue or red. Maybe it'll have, like, a different resistance.
Yeah, there are usually more advanced types of guys, but usually like CR of enemies in D&D is kind of just like challenge rating is just kind of like wherever they settled on it, Like, yeah, there are enemies that are all basically the same but slightly different. Like, what really is the difference between a gelatinous cube and a yellow ochre or an ochre jelly? There is one, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. They're both ooze monsters.
Ooze.
But it's definitely a tech thing, and obviously lots of old school video games are like that. What's the difference between a red Koopa and a green Koopa? One pixel color.
But I think that's all I want to say about those games. Like I said, if anything changes in them, I will let y'all know.
Yep. Honestly, because we're only at the demo. Now 13 hours is very impressive, but also I knew it already, but like it should remind everybody you're a Nioh guy.
Yeah, no, I love Nioh.
You are truly Nioh's strongest soldier.
I don't know if I'm the strongest soldier, but I'm definitely up there.
You're out there repping. I do believe I did double check a week or two ago. I'm pretty sure both Nioh games are available through PS Plus somewhere. If you want to catch up, they're in my back my Well, not my backlog, because I didn't fire them up. I think I played a demo or like a long time ago for 2, maybe. But they're in my list of things to accomplish, along with many other things. But if Lucky has determined his amount of playtime and is ready to go,
well, like I said, if you ever want to get in there, the game does support co-op, so I could probably get in there with you.
We might try it out. That's always an aspect of those sorts of games that I find interesting and want to experiment with more. So we'll see. Like I said, I do think I want to in February pick up one of my backlogged games and like actually do a little work to wrap some stuff up and see where we're at. And who knows, maybe I can, put that along to some audiobooks as well. Get some fucking hours in. But there is another video game that came out this past week that I've put some hours into. And if Lucky's all done with there, I suppose I can talk about that now.
Yep.
Because I have been playing Highguard. I double-checked, and according to the PlayStation's estimation, I have about 8 hours in.
That's probably pretty solid.
Yeah, I've been playing it off and on since it dropped because they have been patching it. But yeah, so Highguard came out, and it is an interesting game. All in all, honestly, I've tried a lot of shooters, both in the free to play, the freemium, and the proper pay to play zone. It's pretty all right. I would probably say it's good. It's a solid C+ game.
Mm-hmm.
You've made an average passing grade. Parts of it are maybe a little goofy or a little annoying. Some parts of it are pretty tight. And going back and forth, like I said, I tried it out and was not immediately scared off. It definitely was a game that was like, okay, play a couple matches, and I'm like, all right, I have some concerns and some observations, but I definitely want to keep trying at this a little to, explore it out. So, and obviously, like I said, they've been releasing patches. Literally today, as of this recording, they dropped the 5v5 mode, which everybody played on the first day and was like, okay, all right, I get what you're going for with 3v3. Guys who made Apex Legends, but these maps are pretty big. So, and people are not wrong. The maps are huge. I have talked about this before. In the 3v3 era, you could sortie out from your base to go to where the spawn point of the thing you need to raid the enemy's base is, and just fuck around. And I would not see a single guy the entire time, because that's how big and open the maps are. So, to run through what Highguard is, I believe they called it a raid shooter.
Yes, that is the term they used.
I will say this. I literally just saw a statement where, like, the studio head was like, oh, we weren't expecting so much hate, but we believe in our game. We're offering an experience that no one else does, and I'm like, I don't know about that. They are doing different things in the genre, but, like, and I don't know what Rainbow Six Siege is like right now, other than being hacked. But I've played Rainbow Six Siege before. That's a, 5v5 game where you have attackers and defenders. Now, Highguard is a little different in that there's no you're on attacking and defending team. It's all at once, all in a single map. You are simultaneously the attackers and defenders, which is an improvement, and obviously, they were 3v3, not 5v5, but now you can play both ways. But the actual concepts are not necessarily groundbreaking, I want to say, but they are doing some new tweaks on some ideas that are interesting. So the way the game works is, it is, at its core, kind of a hero shooter. You have a roster of characters. Let me actually pull it up, because even though I've gotten a decent number of hours, I've not played the entire roster, mostly because like I have styles of characters to play. So yes, your player characters are wardens, because of course we got to keep making them up. So yeah, you've got 8, and everybody's got basically, you've got your tactical ability, your passive ability, and then your ultimate, which charges slowly. So they do most of the things you'd expect with only 8 people in the roster. You've got Redmayne, whose ability is to jump and smash walls, because walls are a big thing. You're sieging. His passive is he gets movement and reload speed after killing enemies, and then his ultimate is he does a big bear yell that breaks things in front of you. It's one of the characters I have not really tried to play at all, but you see him a decent amount. The Wardens, like, the game kind of, like, assigns them roles, but also doesn't. Like, some people seem to lean more to, like, support or offense, but there's no, like, it's not like an Overwatch, right, or anything like that, where it's, like, you've got minimum, or Marvel Rivals, where you've got, like, minimum role comp. It's just, like, you can't overlap, you can't have dupes, which does get a little pickier with 5v5, but you still have many options to pick from. But they've got a wide variety. I've played a decent amount of Mara, who is the spooky evil woman. She's not really that evil, but she definitely uses dark powers. Her ability is that she can give herself or allies an overshield. You can, when you go down, you do spawn. People saw this in the trailer. You spawn a little ball, which enemy teams can break, so you can't respawn, or your allies can grab, so you do respawn. But Mara can eat those to immediately get her tactical back, and also make it so they can't be revived. And then her ultimate creates a spawn point. So, very, very tactical, very strategic, not really a healer, but, a buffer and a tactical unit. You've got Condor, who's the woman with a bird, where she can scan for enemies. She gets a passive alert when enemies are nearby. And she can, her bird can fly around and throw smoke clouds at people and little sandstorms. Una is wearing an Oni mask, but she's aggressively Scottish. She summons forest wisps. Yeah, I'm here. Is this an image I can copy? Well, her default skin is basically wearing, the big. Characters have skins, so she's got like a Valkyrie type look. But she's got a big red horn mask. It's like minimalist, but I'm like, nah, that's pretty like, and that's one thing I will say for this game, right? I'm describing, the different people you can pick to be. The aesthetics are absolutely a mess. It's not, like, distracting, really, but it's definitely a kind of game where I saw somebody on Twitter call it, like, ArtStation core, of just, like, we just took all the concept art we could and everything went. Literally, you can see this woman with a gun. It's just a revolver. Just a big fucking revolver. And her power is to summon, forest wisps, which are little turret gremlins, little gremlin turrets. They throw grenades at enemies. Sometimes they give her loot. And then she can summon a big, turret as her ult. So, like I said, the aesthetics are very weird. You'll get maps that are like, two castles looking at each other, but in the middle there's a spot that the map calls the geothermal power plant. And I'm just like, yeah, sure. You go inside, it just looks like the same interiors as anything else. Like, they're nice, like, none of them look bad, but they're definitely, like... The game, I feel like, with its art direction and art style, does not feel like it has a very strong sense of identity. The Wardens, like, have personal character. They do the usual thing that these sort of games do, which is when you log in, a couple of them will have some dialogue with each other back and forth, right? But it all feels, like, super generic. It's all the stuff that's just like, hey, insert character X, I'm glad to be fighting alongside you. And the other one goes, we haven't fought together since the incident. Or, like, they mention, like, hobbies. Like, I think Condor is, like, an archaeologist because she has a line where she's just like, actually, well, it's Mara talks to her and it's like, hey, you've been digging in the proper noun zone. And Condor's like, yeah, there's so much for us to learn. And then Mara's like, some things should be buried. 1,000-yard stare. Like, that kind of shit, Like, it's very generic sounding. Like, the team that went into this game, their creative vision was absolutely all about gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Like, they figured out that they liked this raid-style thing, which I guess I'll pivot from talking about the Warden, because who gives a shit? Not actually true. There's some of these are fun, but like I said, the core gameplay is you pick a base. When you pick a warden, you pick a base. You usually have 4. The game will recommend one of them to you, but you can vote on whatever. So your base has a different shape and different quote unquote defenses based on which one you pick. I say quote unquote because, like, generally it's just a layout. Some do actually have, like, countermeasures. Like, there's one called Hellmouth, which is, like, surrounded by a big lava moat. There's another called Smuggler's Den, which has, like, an open area of no man's land in front of it, which is filled with explosive red barrels. There are others that like have like outer walls, some of which are destructible, some of which are not, and some are like more vertical. There are other areas that have like lots of interior space you can fight in, so you're supposed to be picking what base layout you want, based on whatever your team comp ends up being and what you feel like. Usually it feels like there's just a couple that people seem to pick because they like kind of the out there. I mean, I would assume it's some of the Apex influence, but part of that also is Apex is set in the Titanfall universe. So, like, technically they had, like, 2 games of world building that they'd already done, and then they were like, oh, we'll connect that in. I don't know if they're, like, thinking of, like, franchising this out, but like I said, there's a lot of just, like they included these character dialogue beats because they felt they had to. I'm sure they did, obviously they have character writers, they have actors involved, and so on and so forth. Like, people care about these things. I do not feel like there was a big creative vision for, like, the story and art direction of this game. It was just like, well, we're doing a new studio, let's get some artists in, and, like I said, you pick a couple of different things off the, their ArtStation portfolios, and you're just like, yeah, can you draw some castles? Cool, draw me some castles. Can you draw me some Norse longhouses? Cool. Can you draw me a character design for the random teleporting shopkeeper with some sort of accent? Oh, aye, kiddo, here, buy your armor. It's me, magical teleporting shopman. I'm definitely not playing both sides. Also, yeah, no, there's a shopkeep who's a character with the design you introduced to him in the tutorial, and he does magically teleport to whatever shop stall you're close to. Maybe he magically clones himself. That explains how he can be in multiple places at once. But so, you pick your base. Phase 1 is you wait for the shield breaker to spawn, which is a magical sword with which to break the enemy shield, because if you don't break their shield, your base has a bubble shield around it permanently, which is actually real. Like, enemy teams can't pass through it without it. You technically pass through gaps in it, but, the enemy can't raid your base until you get a shield breaker. So, it takes a while for the shield breaker to spawn, during which you've got, like, a minute to fuck around the overworld map and usually look for loot, because that's another thing that's, like, showing their kind of Apex and weird Battle Royale, like, roots. There are, crates full of random consumables on the map, and there's chests. Red chests contain weapons and other offensive things in ranked rarities. I talked to Lucky and some of the patrons about this, but we've got the classic rarities: gray, blue, purple, orange. There's no green. Fuck you. We cut it out entirely. So, you'll be looking for weapons. You get to pick a default loadout of 2 guns, any 2 guns to start with, but obviously you can swap to others as you go through. Red chests, like I said, hold weapons. Blue chests hold armor. And yes, this is a thing. You have a number of shield bars, basically, based on your level of armor. You start with 2 always. That's your gray. If you go to blue, you go to 3. If you go, actually, no, maybe gray's 1, blue's 2. Purple's 3, Legendary's 4, or is Legendary 5? No, actually, I think Legendary is 5 armor bars. And you want to pick these up because when you die, your armor breaks. So, it's gone. Now, you can stockpile extras, so there's a reason to keep gathering them. But if you burn through all of your higher rarity armor, you're left with lower rarity armor. So, there is kind of a mechanic to, like, punish you for constantly getting your ass beat, because you will burn through your armor, and that means you will have less shields, basically. That's what the armor really, works into, is it's your shield type effect you expect in a lot of first-person shooters. You can also find other things in the blue defensive chest. There are items called saddles, because that's another major mechanic of this that they're very happy about, is you have a mount button in a first-person shooter. You can summon a mount. Your mount is fast. They have kind of their own HP pool, and they take some of the damage for you. They certainly have a much bigger hitbox than you do when you're mounted. And if your mount loses all their HP, you are thrown from it, and you get kind of animation locked for a second or two, So you can pick up saddles to increase your mount's HP and reduce their cooldown time if they're injured or if you unsummon them. And I know, Lucky, spotted that people, like, right away were talking about, oh, maps feel, too big. That's definitely because they want you to mount. Like, on 3v3, yes, the maps are definitely way more spacious than they need, because I think there's only, like, usually 1 of 3 areas the siege breaker, the shield breaker can spawn. So it's going to be one of those 3 spots. You know which spot it is, like, immediately once the dome opens, right? You have a little bit of time before your dome opens where you can reinforce selected walls. You have a limited number of reinforces, and so you pick certain destructible walls and doors and windows to reinforce, and then you leave. And then you know where the shield breaker is going to spawn, and you go out, you collect your loot, and then the shield breaker spawns, but isn't grabbable for, 60 seconds. I'm pretty sure the idea is for people to kind of, set up or squabble around territory. Usually it goes one of 2 ways, which I don't know if this is just my instinct to play the objective, but usually it's either me alone squatting on the objective until it's ready to go, and then at the last 10 or 20 seconds, the rest of my teammates roll up, having been, cracking open every chest they could find across the map. Which is probably not the wrongest move, but then there are other times where, the shield breaker is, because it always spawns in, a confined space, right? It'll be on a bridge or in a room or in the dungeons, shit like that. So this is where the 3v3 type stuff makes sense, because you'll get into very tight spaces with the enemy team trying to grab this thing. Then you grab the shield breaker, or you don't grab the shield breaker and the other guys grab the shield breaker. This is the next phase where the shield breaker guy is always marked. He has a giant pillar of light and a big bubble radius following them everywhere, so you always know where the shield breaker guy is. If you kill him, you can pick up the shield breaker and raid the enemy base, maybe. There's also a respawn, countdown during this phase, where if the round goes on too long, respawns shut off.
Oh, interesting.
Until you get to the next phase. And when you're in overtime, if, regardless of who has the shield breaker, one of the teams is wiped and gets no respawn, you immediately flash to the raid phase on their base. So,
okay.
You can, if you've got the speed and the clearance, you can just grab the shield breaker, haul ass across the map. You get your mount. There are boost gates you can run through. You walk up to one of a few different points. You stab the magical sword into their shield. It summons a siege tower, which becomes a spawn point for you and your gang. And cracks open their shield, and then you have a limited amount of time to raid their base. Inside their base, it's the kind of classic setup many of you would recognize from those sort of competitive shooters, like a Rainbow Six or a Counter-Strike. You have A points and B points you've got to bomb, and then there's the core anchor, which is the big bomb. Now, I thought in the tutorial the idea is you want to blow up A and B and then blow up the core, but I think at any time you can just blow up the core. If you don't reduce their base HP first, blowing up the core won't necessarily push for the win, but the core anchor location is usually the most central and best defended part of their base, so skipping straight to blowing up the core is hard. But, it's the usual thing, and once again, this is the part where the, different aesthetics are really weird. Usually the bases you're raiding are, fantasy mansions and castles, right? But they have big glowing power generator drums that you stick a fucking time bomb on with a 30-second countdown. It's okay, we're really just playing Counter-Strike. This is weird. But, the raid phase is basically either you blow up the enemy base enough that they lose, or if you deplete the attacker's spawns enough, eventually their siege tower goes away and they get kicked back to their base if you kill all of them. So, if you get straight to a raid, the game can end right away, or you might get kicked back to your base and you can go back and forth. Eventually, just being raided, lowers your base's HP, so eventually you'll lose, just through attrition, but you can end the match faster by actually clearing the objectives and blowing some stuff up. So, the raid parts can be very fun. Again, this is where 3v3 or even the 5v5 mode gets, really neat, because you are funneled into smaller spaces, but also the other team doesn't know, which point you're going for until you stick a big bomb on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get to spread out and be oh, I'm attacking A, I'm attacking B. Like I said, they have different layouts, so they have different, defensive types. There are, some areas, like I said, where, different bases will have, big, tall balconies overlooking the front. So, the attackers, you guys have to run out of your siege tower and cross, open no man's land, being filled full of bullets to get in. Or, you might have pits full of lava. You might have underground tunnels you can go in and out of. Literally, I think there's a couple maps that have, some small trenches in, the base you pick. So, you get to pick your terrain. Like I said, there are destructible walls, which you can beat down with your axe. Everybody has an axe, which is also your melee attack button. There's a really interesting thing with timing your melee attacks. So like one hit usually doesn't do it. You have to time it, and if you time it correctly to a little like, action circle, you'll do it faster or more reliably. And if you do it perfect, your next hit of your axe is like a one-hit break. This is important for walls, but also there is a resource in the game. There are big crystals you farm for currency, because like I said, there's a store. At the store, you can buy armor. You can usually buy a selection of weapons, ammo. You can buy more wall reinforcement kits and wall repair kits so that you can repair walls that the other team blows up, or that you blow up to get at the other team. It's a very tactical decision to make, to decide that, actually, fuck you, I don't want there to be any walls, so you guys cannot camp the bomb point. So, like I said, there is some strategy, there is some thinking. It can be very, very fast-paced and very rewarding feeling when you get, like, into the mix. But there's a lot of not into the mix phase, which, like, is, I think, intentional, but also feels weird. The looting phase before the shield breaker spawns always feels kind of, like, empty to me, because usually so I mentioned it before, but I'll clarify. When you do a back and forth, right, like you do a raid, you get pushed back. When you go back to your base, all the chests reset and rarity upgrades. So you start the game only being able to find blues. That's it. You can only find blue and gray stuff. And sometimes you might find, like, there are amulets, which are just, like, unique power-ups, like revive allies faster, set bombs faster, that kind of thing. You might find some of those that are purple in phase 1. When you do one raid and you get kicked back, you go to the next phase, everything upgrades, and now it's all purple, including the armors you can pick up, but also the weapons and stuff. You do another back and forth, now everything is purple or legendary. There's not another tier if you go further than that. So, like, odds are, when you do the gear gathering phase, like, obviously, I said before, you want to gather as many spare armors as you can, just because that's a mechanic where if you're getting killed a lot, your armor's going to be breaking, so, you're going to want to get spares so you can bring it back up. But usually, like, for me, I will just find one of the couple of weapon types I like. They have a couple shotguns. They have an auto shotgun and a pump shotgun. Those are pretty good. They got a couple different assault rifles. You got 3-round burst. You've got the space ACR, the generic first-person shooter gun assault rifle, which is like the complete all-rounder. And then you have just an AK. Definitely just absolutely an AK, which is like, more powerful but a little more recoil. Probably. Actually, I will say that. That's another thing that I don't like. Weapons do have like different traits. Like you'll see what the benefits to like a purple version of a gun over a blue version of a gun is. They don't actually like in-game list any like mechanical stats for these guns. Like you can't tell. I don't actually know if the Vanguard, which is the default, normal assault rifle, does less damage than the Dynasty, which is the AK. I assume it does because that's how it feels to use them, and also is usually how FPS games work, But the game doesn't really give me any feedback on that. I don't know, like, if the Kraken, the pump shotgun, does more damage than the Paladin, the auto shotgun. Other than that, I have used the Paladin before, and this is one of my complaints I actually tweeted about. I'm pretty sure the Paladin being an auto shotgun has a really low base damage because I have dumped an entire mag into an enemy's back at like about, I want to say like, 10 feet tops and not killed them. A recurring problem I can have is that because like armor is tiered as well, like you can dump an entire mag into a guy and he has no idea you're standing there behind him and you still will win. Like they'll turn around and get you because they have a higher quality gun or they scored the headshot or whatever. So, like, there are different, like, perks on, like, purple and legendary tier weapons. Like, sometimes I found, like, a shotgun that's, like, a double fire, like, fires twice with one trigger pull, etc. There's literally an SMG called the Corsair, which is literally, like, a double-barreled SMG.
That sounds cool.
So, yeah, you're, like, you're doing 2 bullets per pull. So, like, does a lot of damage. No, you only have ADS. That's another thing I do like. Every gun has iron sights. Some guns you can attach a scope to. It's for free. You can just put a magnification scope on it or take it off. So you can decide whether or not you want, iron sights or like a hollow sight for close-up work, or you want some more distant. The sniper rifle just has variable zoom distance. So like some of them have that. But like I said, the Corsair and the Kraken, the pump shotgun, don't have scopes at all. They're just like iron sights or nothing, brother. And they do kind of have all the normal, like I said, the normal FPS type guns. You've got different categories. You've got close combat weapons for like shotguns and SMGs. They've got a couple of them that feel pretty good. The the Viper SMG is very clearly the Titanfall and Apex SMG that everybody likes, where it's like not a lot of damage, but very, very small recoil amounts, a very high rate of fire, you know?
Mhm.
Very, very, very good for rapid fire, close quarters stuff. They make the revolver seem really cool in the tutorial. I have had absolutely terrible luck with them actually playing the game, because they are big-ass recoil, slow rate of fire, and at least at lower rarities, do only hold six shots. Now, I say at lower rarities because in the tutorial, they gave me a legendary revolver that had, like, 17 shots because I'm, like, fucking fanning the hammer and I can fire way more bullets than I should be able to. That was cool, but because perks are randomly assigned, I have never seen that perk on a revolver again in the wild. You know, I've never seen the rootin' tootinest hip-firing version of the gun. So, like, they have good gunplay, they have good gun types, but you don't get a lot of feedback on, like, what gun is better for like, what role. Like, you don't get to see damage and stuff. You just kind of have to guess based on ball knowledge. And you know, playing some rounds. And the looting phase, like, has different perks that can affect things mechanically. But also, once you get to the phase where legendary weapons spawn, if you're dead or you go to a vendor, you can just buy them if you have enough Vesper. Like, you can just buy them with currency. So it's like, it's weird. I don't know if the looting phase, like, really adds a lot to the game other than giving you something to do, some reason to explore these big-ass maps when you're waiting for the shield breaker to spawn. Like, it makes me wonder if maybe they wanted to lean a little more on the Battle Royale type stuff, but then in the middle of development, you know, allegedly they were working on this for like 5 years, they realized that, like, making a new Battle Royale was not going to be was going to be a non-starter.
Probably.
So they decided to switch more to this pure raid focus. So, like, they wanted to give you different one. That's why I'll say oranges. Different ones. We have a community member named Legendary who focuses to the thing, but no, it's just fine. You're special. You're a big orange. But yeah, no, like the looting phase really does just kind of seem like giving you something to do when the game's not progressing otherwise. And then the vendor exists, I think, correctly to let you access your resources. Because like I said, you can buy armor, which is pretty important. You can buy, you know, repair kits and stuff. You can buy ammo for your siege tools. Because you have tools which are used to break things. You can have a rocket launcher, which is a rocket launcher. You can get higher rarities to the rocket launcher, which can make it a thermite rocket launcher, which burns through reinforced walls, or it can fire multiple rockets, which is neat. You can get a breach hammer, which is a hammer that breaches. Unfortunately, it does still take ammo, which is a little annoying, but it's a big melee breaching tool, which you can also use to beat the hell out of your enemies. And you can get a zipline launcher to create ziplines. I almost never see anybody use the zipline launcher because, well, it's neat. It does not break walls. So, and it's using your wall breaking slot. You can only carry one siege tool at a time, you know? So it feels like that's not as well respected. Maybe in the 5v5 we'll see people pick it up more so you can do some more stuff. But otherwise in the maps, you know, like I said, they're big. There is fall damage. Unlike Apex, so you got to be careful about that. You will break your shins. And like they're pretty, but they're pretty wide and open. You know, you got to worry about jumping. You jump further on your mount. There are boost gates which kind of give these almost like preset routes for you to go, but you can just hike through the wilderness if you have the shield breaker or you're trying to cut off the shield breaker guy from getting to your base. You always have an option to teleport to base, so you can just hold a button and teleport back to your spawn point, or if a raid is starting and you're not near the siege tower, you can teleport to the siege tower. If you're respawning and your team has the shield breaker, you can respawn near your shield breaker guy, which is very nice. So, like, there's a lot of variability, a lot of options. Like I said, I think it's a pretty alright video game. Like, it you know, parts of it are pretty good, but it definitely feels very strange to, like, play and observe, and definitely makes me feel like they maybe should have gone for, like, even if they didn't want to put it out, like, in the wide world, maybe, like, a closed beta to maybe iron out some of these things, but they seemed really insistent on the shadow drop. What was that like?
They could have had at least 2 closed betas on before, you know, Keeley's announcement to this.
Yeah, no, like, and that's the thing, right? Like, another game I'm very excited for, which is not free to play, but I'm also interested in, is early March, we're getting Marathon, which they are, first of all, they're doing absolutely sick press for, like doing little animated shorts and wallpapers and shit that are super neat. Some of you may have seen the image of that one guy, switching between being normal and being on fire. But they have very publicly been doing closed betas. They said they will be doing at least one open beta test before their launch, and they have been, taking feedback and very openly taking feedback and integrating it into the game, which is generally, like, a lot of people were very skeptical, especially when the very first closed beta came out. They were like, oh man, this marathon thing, I don't know, we're doing, PvPvE extraction shooter, also could be a 3v3 thing. At the very least, it's not 3v3, but it's the largest you can go as a 3-man team, but you can go duos or solos also if you want. But like I said, generally, I see a lot more people positive these days because of the stuff they're showing as a result of the closed beta stuff. Like, I think Highguard's, like, Steam reviews are kind of moving back towards mixed, like after about a week and after some updates, because there were some performance issues on PC.
Yeah. Hell, I heard there was some performance issues on PS5, too.
I didn't see any direct performance issues, but there are definitely, like, some weird parts. Like, they say straight up the 5v5 mode is experimental. There's a little, splash screen where it shows all the heroes and they do their cool, emotes when you go in. That screen is hella broken in 5v5 because they clearly did not plan for there to be 5 people standing there. Like, the way the camera, like, zooms and moves does not match up at all. Sometimes people are, like, off-center. It's very funny. Like, you can tell that they pulled the trigger real fast on that.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, that kind of lends to my thought that, like, this is a game that's designed gameplay first, and, like, the gameplay is pretty alright. It's not the greatest in the world. I think the 5v5 is a little more fun than 3v3, again, because just, you can get real tight in there. And also, it's always fun when you've got a lot of friends, to get some action, and it can get a little hectic to, fight the entire team, but I've had runs where, like, we're crammed into the last fucking bomb room and just, throw a grenade in, sweep the room with your gun, and there's four dead enemies on the floor, grab your friends and go kind of a thing. Like, you can have some excitement there. There's some nail biters.
That seems good. Like I said, I was pretty sure that Highguard was going to be an okay game. Like I said, with Jeff Keighley putting it in the one last thing slot and the absolute lack of marketing and player feedback, I think they probably shot themselves in the foot a little bit, but I think they can recover from this and have a pretty good game, have a pretty good game come out of it.
At the very least, they've shown themselves to be pretty responsive. Like, obviously, they were in position to do, I won't say damage control, but to do updates, on the first week. But the fact that they were able to pull the trigger on a 5v5 mode, even at an experimental, less than a full week after the game came out, I think it was obvious that they probably thought that they might do a 5v5, right? They probably were already thinking about different game modes they can do. The game says it has a ranked mode coming, but it's not out yet, right?
Actually, if I remember correctly about their development, I think the developers actually started with 8 versus 8, and then started going backwards to see what felt right with them. Unfortunately, what felt right for them did not necessarily feel right for everybody else.
I mean, this is also why, like beta testing and polls are important. This is a thing that I talk about with the Yugi boys on Fail Betrayal sometime. There's a huge difference between internal game testing and external game testing. Like when you test a pack of cards internally versus what happens when the wider world gets a hold of them, because that's the true monkeys on typewriters experience.
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely wonder if they would do an 8v8. I kind of like the odd numbers because it makes it feel like you can't necessarily get like a proper stalemate,
Oh yeah.
Like with I think basically 3 spawn points on every map. There's like you don't have enough room for like all 5 of you and all 5 of the other guys to be like completely slugging it out like in a line. Like the maps aren't designed for it. So like that would always leave room for somebody to flank if you have odd numbers. If you actually go like 8 to 8, it's like, well, then you could probably do like 2 guys go here, 2 guys go here, 2 guys go there, and then the other 2 guys are floating,
Yeah.
Hell, shit, you could literally send 6 guys out to actually get the shield breaker and have 2 guys just camp at home on your base. I don't know if they'll try 8v8. If they do, I'll try it. Like I said, I've been playing this game a decent amount throughout the week. I don't know if I'm gonna, keep playing this game forever, but while it's new and fresh and they've been doing updates, I have been trying it. They do have, daily challenges to get a little currency. The unlocks are kind of, whatever. oh, look, my revolver can be blue now, kind of a thing. But they've got all the kind of tchotchkes that, like, I know that first-person shooter players are interested in. They've got different skins for the heroes, possibly. You can get different looks for your mount. You can have horse, griffin, battle cat.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm looking at the reviews. Yes, they have gone from overwhelmingly negative to mixed.
Sounds about right. Like, there was a, as usual, an unnecessary amount of hate for the game and for Jeff, where just, like, people made up their mind that this game was stupid and bad, and they hated it before it even came out, and nothing would change their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I do also genuinely think, like we said, that, like, there was definitely a certain hype around it that when you play it and you're just like... I mean, there's going to be some people who are going to play Highguard and go, oh shit, this raid shooter thing is amazing, brilliant, I've always wanted this. But most of the audience is probably going to pick it up and go, it's alright. You play an FPS.
Honestly, I think I remember I saw you, like,
shoot.
someone retweeted, like, I think you retweeted a tweet about someone talking about, there needs to be, like, either a certain amount of time or people have to have a certain amount of playtime before they can, drop a review. I think that's true.
Yeah, I believe that
I'm looking
Paul Tassi, who's a journalist he's been the guy who is, like, been asking where the fuck is Highguard's press team, like, all week before it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been seeing his tweets off and on, interacting with him, and after it came out, he was definitely like, oh shit, the game's really real. It's kind of fun, but it could use some polish in some areas. And then, like, started talking about that stuff with, like we said, with, like, Steam reviews.
No, because I'm looking at people, like, I'm seeing positive at, like, 5.3, 3.8, 9.7, 4.6, but the negatives are, like, 1.4. Oh, this one's 11.3. That fucking fair. You played that game for 10 hours. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Does not recommended. 0.9 hours.
Wow,
2.4
so like 50
hours.
minutes?
1.1 hours. I'm going to be real, guys. 1.1 hours is not enough time to get a real feel for a game. Especially a competitive one.
And I did see some people talk about in the comments to that of, like, well, that blocks out reviews that are, like, purely technical based. But honestly, that's not a Steam review. Like, if you play a game and you're like, hey, this game is optimized like shit, it doesn't run well on my machine, you can see my specs right here where I've got an average or above average PC, that, I mean, like, yeah, you can say that's a review, but also, like, that's a technical report. That's a bug report, right? To be like, hey,
yeah.
Your game has problems with frames or something, or lag, even though my machine is good, kind of a thing.
How brain dead is this? There's a negative review here. I won't say who it's from, but it's 0.6 hours, Unreal 5 slot, boring and trash. 7 people found this review helpful. Are you serious?
That's like, I can't say it's a grift because they're not making money off this Steam review, but that's absolutely like a fucking bot review, or like you said, a brain dead, like, but not that I'm the biggest fan of Epic right now because their CEO is fucking on Twitter all week shit talking Steam,
mm-hmm.
which, like, we've had our own conversations about, Steam style, but, like, my guy, you control the competition to Steam.
I'm gonna say it's not we could talk about the Steam thing a little because I have thoughts on
thing, yeah.
Because basically, UK courts are basically suing Steam. Well, not suing, but to bring a lawsuit against Steam about their fucking quote unquote monopoly practices and their 30% cut. And I have some thoughts on, like, the Steam thing, but I think we have to acknowledge that Steam is a monopoly. It literally controls 70 to 75% of the PC sales market. That's literal. That's no game. A lot of people say, well, yeah, duh. All the competition is shit and trash. And I want to agree with that. I want to disagree with that. It's not that the competition is shit and trash. It's just that you cannot make a product that is good as Steam. You just cannot. Just by a competitor existing, unless it's doing the exact same thing as Steam, it's not going to compete with Steam. And if it's doing the exact same thing as Steam, well, people are just going to stick with what they already know and go with Steam. So, that's why, like, Steam has no competition, because they can either just be they can only be either worse than Steam or as good as Steam. I don't think you can be better than Steam, which I think goes into comments like, yeah, no, there is no, like, fair competitive market for Steam. There just is not, which, means that Steam is a monopoly.
Yeah, I've been double checking. It's like strictly, like, this is one of those great things about legal definitions. Strictly, you might say Steam is not a monopoly because the monopoly literally means one seller in Greek, right? They are not a true perfect monopoly because Epic Game Store does exist even if people don't like it. good old games exists, even if they're more niche.
No, there are
But
sorry,
specifically, I'm saying there are supposed to be, you have to have one of 5 characteristics to count as a monopoly on the market. Profit maximizer, they choose the price or output to maximize their profits. I don't think this is necessarily true for Steam.
No, it's not. Like I said, sorry.
Like I said, there's 5 of these. There's price maker, decides the price of a good or product to be sold. Kind of true.
A little bit.
High barriers to entry, this is I think the one that's key, is there are high barriers to, it takes a lot to make another PC video game marketplace. There's one seller of the good single seller, and price discrimination, you can change the price or quantity of the product at will. Steam, I think, would count as a monopoly in the high barriers to entry. The thing about the lawsuit is, technically, is it Steam's fault that they're a monopoly? Do they perform anti-competitive practices?
No, not really.
Not really? So it's that's like I say, the lawsuit is weird because, people say, like you said, they're Steam's not a monopoly, it's just all the other services are crap, which is, kind of true, but as we just discussed, not actually what would define Steam as a monopoly in that sense. Mm-hmm. The fact that the other products suck so nobody uses them is not actually determining them to be monopolistic.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a case of but they are not a anti-competitive monopoly because they are not necessarily boxing. They didn't create the barrier to entry to create a store front. The consumers did.
Yes.
And and in some cases that is due to lower quality product. Y'all, please remember that probably about a decade ago, y'all remember what Origin used to be and the Ubisoft launcher and all that shit. Everybody tried to have their own launchers and their own storefronts for you to launch, but they always had, some weird quality to them where you needed to make a whole new login and give them a bunch of your information, or, they ran like ass. Some of them did have integration with Steam, but some of them were also bad about it. I remember the time I dropped Uplay was I tried to buy an Anno game through them that also said it would go to my Steam library and launch correctly that way, and it just didn't. And I was interesting, cool. I have this game was marketed to me as having a, back integration into Steam that didn't work, and I just couldn't play my video game very easily. And it's interesting. So
no.
Those services used to be crappy. Arguably, Epic is still kind of crappy in some areas. They are lagging behind Steam in some services.
Yeah. And I think the monopoly is because, and the other part is I believe that Steam charges, 30% for
yes, they have a flat cut they take from sales.
And people are saying, yeah, that's industry standard. I'm industry standard based on what? Steam?
I mean, I guess the point of comparison would be the cut that, Google or Apple take, but also they've taken a shitload of challenges to that, some from Epic, about, is it fair for them to enforce those cuts? I guess the main thing we'll see in the court case is, with Steam's 30% cut is, does Steam, stop you from making money through other storefronts, which is not really?
I mean...
if you
this is the thing. Well, I think this is the thing. It's all if you don't because we're having this chat, it's all if you don't put your game on Steam, though, is it really going to get the notice and attraction that you want it? For example, we love Vintage Story. Vintage Story isn't on Steam, but we didn't know this game existed until basically last year. Same with games like Voices from the Void.
I think it depends on the title. I will also say this, because I looked at it. Hytale, for instance, I talked about it last week. I believe they are not on Steam in their early access, and I do not know if they are going to Steam because they are in a space where they kind of don't want to be paying that 30%, right? They went through a whole complicated money thing. I think they're doing pretty good because they have this kind of semi-organic hype around it.
Well, yeah, it's oh god, what kind of a story I want? I don't want to say a rag to riches kind of story.
Kind of an underdog story.
It's an underdog story.
They broke off from being a Minecraft mod to being a real game, but the big pants publisher who was going to publish their video game, was just nope, into the trash it goes, and they, took it back.
They took it back, publishing it. But like this is the thing that they're also talking about. It's all like that 30% cut can really hurt, like, individual or small devs who need, every cent they can get. So I don't know. Maybe like they're gonna, go like maybe the lawsuit is gonna challenge on that, or specific things. Honestly, I feel like Steam should have some sort of variable cut depending, like.
Honestly, yeah, probably. I know that Valve does not like to, because they are such a huge marketplace, they do not like to, like, make a lot of little exceptions because that can get very people intense, and they have a lot of titles that can go through Steam. So, like, that can be tough, but definitely, I wonder if there could be some sort of, like, options to negotiate, and we'll have to see what the court rules. The UK is a pretty big market, so if they do it, we'll see. And if the idea is that Steam, because they are the price setter, they are the effective monopoly, even if they are not a literal monopoly, if they adjust their percentage cuts or make it variable, then other storefronts will have to follow through to be profitable. That is actually going to change market controls. But that's the thing where, like I said, I will be very interested to see like where this thing goes, because it is an interesting issue. And like you said, a lot of people will see this quote, which is a little misleading, by the way, because they mostly just mentioned they're doing it because it's a monopoly, and that's not exactly it. They are targeting Steam because they are an effective monopoly, but the suit is actually about their revenue cut, their revenue split scheme. Like, is that competitive? That's an argument that is interesting. We'll see. Like where a court rules on that.
I do believe that the initial court has pushed it forward. I think
that means they've read the suit and went, yes, this can go to court.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see the findings, and then not everything that goes to court goes anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Despite the fact that actually, it turned out to not be a huge deal anyway because of how it shook out. But there was that whole lawsuit, pressed by Sony, PlayStation Division, and others about Xbox acquiring ActBliz, right? Mm-hmm. That went to court. That had a lot of documents churned out, which had a lot of interesting things in it. But ultimately, the court officials, decided that it was not an antitrust move to allow the merger to go through. And it turns out that was kind of correct, because market pressures on Microslop forced them to go multi-plat with their games anyway. They spent too much money buying Activision Blizzard. They could not afford to make them console exclusive and, cut out a not insignificant portion of PlayStation gamers. And also, quite frankly, starting from last year, Switch 2 gamers. Because it turns out, guys, the Switch 2 has hella legs. Square Enix is out here being like, oh yeah, we're bringing more Final Fantasy titles to Switch 2, baby. They just launched Remake Intergrade on Switch 2 this past week. #1 seller. Physically sold out everywhere. Like, that's a game that's fucking... Oh my god, how old is Rebirth? Is it like 5 years old? 6 years old?
Oh god.
Was it 2020? 2021? Maybe even before that. Was it 2019? Is it 7 years since Rebirth? Or since Remake 1? Oh my god. But, like, admittedly, Intergrade obviously came out, like, after another year of polish. That was their next-gen jump. Remake. Rebirth isn't on Switch 2 yet. That's why I corrected myself. But, Remake Intergrade is a decently old title, but people are still really interested in it on jumping the gap and taking it on their Switch 2, possibly portably, and seeing, which is really good. Like, I personally want Square to cast a wide net on this product.
Oh yeah,
and I'm much like how they will eventually come to PC. But actually, is Rebirth on PC yet? I think they did that. It was about after a year. It was 2020, so it's 6 years. All right, so it'll be 7 years by the time they do the third one.
Pulling it.
Listen, I feel like everybody's calling it. Everybody's feeling it. The third game's going to come out in early 27, probably on the anniversary of the date. In like January or February. It'll be 2027, so it will be exactly 30 years from 1997. It'll be 7 years since the first one released. So yeah, no. Okay, Rebirth is on PC. Yeah, so they've said that Rebirth is also coming to Switch 2, and they did say that eventually the third game, as yet unnamed, will also release. Unnamed for now.
Better get a trailer at Summer's Games Fest.
If not earlier, man. But no, it's the time. They fucking...
It is the time.
They just released
Intergrade. Would they wait for Tokyo Game Show?
Oh, I don't know about that. That seems like a little late in the year.
Yeah. I don't know, but we have to get an announcement here. Like our big 3 announcements was Summer Games, Gamescom, or fucking Tokyo Game Show. Do we still do PAX? I forgot. I haven't heard PAX
they do some
years.
PAXs. I don't know that Square would go to a PAX for that, but definitely like I would think it would be Summer Games Fest, because I'm pretty sure the original announcement was like E3, but like the revamped announcements and like the dates and stuff and Rebirth were at Game Awards. Like and they didn't have something this Game Awards. I think they would go to Keighley and hit him up for summer. Assuming, of course, also since it will be an exclusive, like for a timed exclusive, like Sony might do a State of Play. Yep, January 31st is the release date in Japan, so like right now today technically, because it's after midnight. So we'll see if there's some news today, because they just put the Rebirth soundtrack on streaming services everywhere. Mm-hmm. They've just announced they're doing another PC port of the original 7, another enhanced version, which is, another thing to be like that feels like we're moving the push, Actually, is there... I heard rumors there's going to be a State of Play next month. Yep. According to rumors, according to predictors, there will be a State of Play in February. Like, Sony, obviously, I'm pretty sure is still rolling 7. So, like, I think the third 7 game will come to PlayStation 5 first. But that's still a very interesting phase. But yeah, it feels like the time has got to be ripe for the announcement soon, because they've just Rebirth soundtrack is out. It's fucking, oh my god,
so good.
Oh, it's so good. I forgot how fucking good that was. I tweeted out already. I listened to the Mithril Minds theme, Chasing the Men in Black, and I'm just like, oh my god, I forgot they played it with a real ass flute. Oh, it's so good. The fucking the final boss tracks are like, you've got so they're separate, by the way, even though they're 2 movements. It goes Eris theme White Materia version into Genova Lifeklinger. 2 separate 8-minute tracks. 9 billion Sephiroth variations. The soundtrack has, like, I didn't realize it playing it, but there's, like, I feel like there's a fucking dozen tracks just dedicated to the Loveless play, depending on what you're doing. Like, so many different variations to the music. The soundtrack has the variations to each Gold Saucer theme mixed with each Heroine's theme. I did not yet track down exactly where our boy Stamp is in the mix. But I'm hoping he's in there somewhere.
Oh, he's in there somewhere.
Yeah. But I got that fucking... I posted it to our channel. I got the Queen's Blood. So yeah, no. But we're working on a new PC port. Intergrade just came out on Switch 2. They're ready to bring more products on it. We'll see. Now, for Kingdom Hearts 4, that I don't know. D23 I could see, like the Disney Expo. I don't know. Might be Tokyo Game Show. We haven't seen anything in years on that. And like, genuinely, I think we haven't seen anything in years in that, because I'm pretty sure it's because Nomura's very busy working on first Rebirth and then whatever the third thing is called. The internet is basically like, it will be called Reunion, or it will be called something else, because they already called the remaster of Crisis Core Reunion. Those are our only 2 options. It's either Reunion or it's not. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on. I'm ready.
Yes, they did recently read that they have... Well, apparently they said they aren't done with the game, and now they're in polishing, and they have a name, so...
Yeah, they've locked in the name and logo.
Like I said, they're very excited for the story and for everyone to see it, and they think everyone's gonna fucking love it.
Sadly, everyone will not love it, because some people are babies.
It's true.
But I'll probably think it's pretty cool.
I will think it's rad, and be happy that I finally beat Final Fantasy VII. I should probably pick up the OG and get it done.
I mean, I will say the current version you can get on like PlayStation Store and stuff is pretty easy to go for get her done mode. You can
Oh, actually, we can mention that too. Actually, they actually did just release a new version of Final Fantasy VII, with improved localization and other quality of life. What entire quality of life is, I'm not sure. But
yeah, I should check that out, because like I said, the version you could get on PlayStation before had like, emulator speed run modes. You could like turn off random battles. You can make it so limit break was always full, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I
you
think
could
it was like 2011, 2013 or something like that. I don't know. Let's check.
But yeah, so like, running the story anyway of the original 7 is not super hard. If you want to get all your bonus stuff done, then you're gonna have to, get in there, get the golden chocobar. But no, it's gonna be so. They've already said that, like, hey, guess what? Snowboarding's not a one-off, baby. That's gonna be a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so that means that like the getting around Icicle Glacier and Gaia's Cliffs is gonna be a whole thing.
Big mountain.
Knowing them, they don't let any idea from the original die. There's gonna be a whole fucking mountain climbing minigame, guys.
Oh, they have talking about how they're really pleased of how Tifa and Cloud scene, the one, that scene really came together. So I'm excited. I'm super excited.
That's good. Somebody, by the way, pointed out that there's an animation of, like, I think it's from Rebirth, but it was like one lady slaps another one in Calm, and they were like, "Is this a prelude to an animation in the third game?" Because I could see that being a single cutscene moment where Tifa just bare hand slaps the shit out of Scarlet. Scarlet deserves it. I don't think they're going to keep the whole slap fight angle, because also it would be so much more satisfying for Tifa to do a full fucking fighting game combo. I don't know how we'll excuse that Scarlet survives that, but...
I'm sorry, I thought about it, but I just thought Tifa doing the hair flip, just slapping the shit out of Scarlet. Ugh. I hate that meme
that's
so
on top
much.
Of that's on top of the Sister Ray, by the way. So we could summon the literal dolphin to Junon and have it also slap Scarlet. Mr. Dolphin, get in there. No, actually, also what it could just be is just that, like, Tifa just slaps Scarlet, and before she actually gets to beat the shit out of her, Sapphire weapon pops up.
Bonjour.
That's going to be a fight, by the way. I'm calling my shots now. Sapphire weapon's going to be a real fight. They're going to add one. Also, Ruby weapon and Emerald weapon will not be optional.
Again, I'm curious to see if we actually do something with, like, because we saw the weapons in the second game, except they were weird, giant whales with giant materia.
Yeah, we saw some prototypes to the weapons, which I don't mind, because again, the pacing of the original 7 story is super weird. I could talk about it for hours, so I won't. But, like, you're not introduced to the weapons until North Crater.
Yeah,
the boys at North Crater see some weird shadows in the crystals and are like, "What the fuck is that?" And it's like, I think it's Nanaki who says, "They are weapons. They are manifestations of the planet's rage." Anyway, don't worry about that. We've got to stop Sephiroth. He's got the black materia. So, like, the Rebirth setting them up along with other things, and stuff, like all in all, like I said, I have very positive opinions towards Rebirth and what they did. And while they did cut and reorder some things, we're still gonna get them. Like, removing Rocket Town and jumping straight to Nibelheim is honestly probably for the better, because that will definitely then the Rocket Town sections will then definitely be the part where we, like, unpack Cid's whole backstory.
I think it is. I think it's part. Again, my big question: what we're gonna do with Wutai? Like,
well,
I know they're gonna put it in there, but I'm just curious where they're gonna actually slot it in.
Because we again, you're right. We have to do Wutai on multiple levels, because we've turned it into rule of threes with the Dawn. He should have been Rebirth, even though we shouldn't have. So we got to come back for one more run. That sequence also has a lot of... That will be very interesting. Will we do that before we get Cloud back or not? Because that sequence has, like, some interesting character building for the Turks as well.
It could be one of those things where you lose Cloud and maybe you go to Wutai to maybe figure some shit out. I don't know. Again,
actually, I could see that, because that would definitely... Because that's kind of our... Like, after North Crater, when Tifa and Barret wake up in Junon, and, like, Barret does the, "Tifa, you gotta look out the window," and, Tifa opens the blinds and looks up, and they play the Meteor theme, with the pianos as the camera just cranes up, and you're just like, oh shit. That's kind of like 7's darkest moment. Like, that's when shit's the most real. The gang is captured. Tifa literally is put in a gas chamber, and you have to escape. So, like, I could definitely see, like, you steal the Highwind, and then Yuffie is like, "Hey, this baby can fly anywhere, right? We gotta go to Wutai. Wutai will help."
I just hope she doesn't steal all the materia again. Again, that was literally the number one reason why I hated Yuffie in the OG. I'm like,
I could see her stealing your materia, but I expect it would be for a much shorter duration. Like, it would be for a scripted segment, I think.
Or maybe it's something like Yuffie's like, "Guys, if we're gonna get in, I'm gonna need all your materia. All of it." Or something. Give me a legitimate reason that Yuffie takes all her materia rather than that she decided now is the perfect time for betrayal.
She just decided being close to home was the time to fuck us over. But yeah, Wutai is going to be a very critical one. Rocket Town's going to be really interesting. Obviously, we'll have to go back to areas because we will have access to the airship. They said this. They built the airship technology in game engine, so like you will be able to airship around.
I wonder if Ultimate Weapon's going to be optional.
Oh, that will be a good question. Because, like, one of those fights is not optional. That's mandatory when he fucking attacks Mediel. But then technically what you do is you just run into him. So that one could be optional. But we'll see what they do.
Again, this is like what we talk about. 7 has so much optional content because you have to literally, chase Ultimate Weapon around, beat him up, he crashes, and that opens up a new zone for you to go into.
Yeah, I'm about to say that. Yeah, he like detonates and creates a crater that causes an area that you can go into. That will be interesting. I wonder. Yeah, like everything in this game, like everything ultimately, I think in the trilogy will be non-optional. So I think you'll probably will have to take him down. It'll just be like why? Because like even I'm already thinking that like I agree with lots of people who say this. Knights of the Round is not going to be like the ultimate or the optional ultimate summon. That will be like a plot point that like it, well, I guess it might technically be optional because it could be like the reward for doing all the previous summon materias if they like keep Chadley back. But like I feel like that will be like a story arc to be like, yes, the ultimate summoning materia, the Knights of the Round. To me, my knights.
That could be rad. Again, I'm curious. I'm excited to see our fucking third Bahamut.
Yeah,
like I said, they were they did pretty good with
It was what it was Rebirth was what they called it. It was Bahamut Kai.
Yeah. I said I default to Nioh Bahamut. That's just where I default to.
Nioh Bahamut is like the second one. Yes, it's Bahamut 0 is the final one in 7.
Space Bahamut.
Maybe we'll get him in space. We're going to space, guys. They're gonna shoot us up in the rocket.
I mean, if no, like that's how you got Bahamut. Well, not technically Bahamut. But you got you had to get Bahamut 0 by getting, was it all 4 of the huge materia, and then interact with him, and that's how you got him?
I think it was the giant summon materia because they were color coded.
Oh, was it the giant summon materia? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was you had to get the big red one.
I mean, I think that'd be good if if we do the fucking the Rocket Town segment, and we actually get launched up and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm curious to see what this ends. There's potentials for so much stuff. Ugh.
Like the way I imagine it is that it's gonna go is we're gonna chase the huge materia, and we are going to, like, you will be forced to lose all of them.
Mm.
Like you in the game you can like technically complete them. But I feel like for the structure of the third game, they're gonna make it so that we like, because the team is gonna be all scattered, right? Because the huge materia arc is the arc where you keep changing party leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're going to whiff on all of them, and then will get loaded into the rocket, and that will be the like big Sid backstory time where he kind of like explains his whole deal, and that'll be really interesting to see. Like that's the character stuff is the stuff I'm always want to see about. Like I really want to see Sid interact with the gang more, like both as a playable character to see his moveset. I hope he's as cool to play as Dragoons is. I'm gonna be yumping. He better still have his dynamite move. That better be one of his like basic action commands, as he just pulls out that dynamite stick, lights it, throws it. Need that shit. But like that's going to be really interesting to be him as like, because the guys had a little tension there, but I would love to see his kind of like motivation as like playing off of like Barrett as like effectively a former Shinra man, flying planes and rocket ships and stuff. And also obviously like I can't wait to see whatever we're going to do with playability and with story arc stuff for fucking Vincent. So, Also, hey, I mean, I tweeted about it as well, but speaking of 20th anniversaries, it's been 20 years since Dirge of Cerberus.
Yay!
And Square Enix did not forget, because there's a Dirge of Cerberus chapter being added to Ever Crisis.
Yeah.
Including everybody gets to see young, smooth Vincent, babyface Vincent in his suit. Unlike Rude and Reno, his suit was actually tailored correctly. But yeah, like, I can't imagine that, like, Vincent and the Lucrezia Crystal Cave is definitely going to be, like, mandatory, even if it's just, like, a story beat thing. And like I said, personally, I'm of the opinion also that, like, they're going to keep some of the elements that they scrapped for the finale, and, like, oh boy. Solo Vinny boss fight versus Heretic Hojo?
That'd be great. Especially if he gets his chaos form. Yes.
Yeah, he would go. Yeah, he would probably either before that or during that fight be able to activate chaos. Hojo literally has multiple phases in that fight. Like he transforms mid-fight. During that fight, by the way, they play Genova's theme, so there's going to be another sick remix.
Yeah. Exciting.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Oh. Like I said, give me some trailers, man. I got it. That game's gonna be so sweet.
So sweet, so delicious.
You're gonna fucking fight the Proud Claude, the giant mecha piloted by Scarlet and Heidegger. Honestly, yeah, I really that's the thing that I don't know if they'll show it like right away in some of the trailers, but the like kaiju type stuff is what I really want to see, because like that is such an integral part of 7 that like I can't wait to see how they handle it.
Oh yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Gesundheit. Thank you. Let's see. What was a mission clock at? A little over 3 hours. I mentioned the Rebirth OSTs on there, as we talked about Highguard, Rain, Nioh. We can talk about some other reading stuff. Mostly, I think, at this point, because we did talk about where we're at with 12 months, which is I started but haven't finished, and you haven't started yet.
Yeah.
But I did also. I wasn't pictured in my original image because it was I fucking forgot, so I got it as a separate order, so it came a couple days later. But I also got Warrior Bone novella and read it because it's pretty short, gang. It's pretty short and to the point. So we can talk about that if we like. I'm silent for a second, Chet, because I looked away to ponder my bookshelf. I guess I should say, as purely on my own merits as well. I did finish James J. Butcher's second book in his Unorthodox Chronicles, Long Past Dues. It's been a pretty good read. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting to, literally back to back, because, I went from finishing that to starting my read of 12 months to literally go from well, not father to son, but son to father, you can definitely tell that, like, I think James Butcher likes a lot of the same media and same inspirations as his father because, duh.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely do work in different styles. Like, I strongly feel like... sorry, excuse me. James Butcher's Unorthodox Chronicles is, I want to say, like, more loose in the world building. Like, early Dresden especially, but even later Dresden, the world building and exposition and, like, investigating part is very critical. Harry goes into his dungeon and he's like, Bob, I'm being attacked by gremlins. What the fuck? Bob's like, well, Harry, here's what you need to know about gremlins. They're bad. They're going to kill you. If I were you, I would leave town. Bob, I can't leave town. Okay, well, try this. That could be many, many conversations in Harry's basement.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, slight 12-month spoiler, but he hasn't done much with it yet. But Harry's got his basement back.
Rad.
But the Unorthodox Chronicles are more, like, loose. Like, there is some world building of setting up, like, how, witches, magic users work. And there is an, other side, otherwhere place that you can go through mirrors. But, like, other supernatural creatures just kind of exist and show up, like, and are not, like, super well defined. Our protagonist, Grimsby, runs into a Lamia and a troll in the second book. And they're just kind of vibing, and he has no idea what the fuck they are until, he gets back to his wizard cop buddies later. Like, stuff just kind of happens. So it's like, it's interesting to see, but it is very, like, character compelling, I want to say. Like, Grimsby's a very different protagonist than Harry Dresden, and they flow together really well while still being very witty. I will also say that I feel like a continued theme from the first one into the second one that I think is a constant is that the Unorthodox Chronicles by James Butcher kind of has a built-in buddy cop dynamic. Grimsby is the young fuck-up who couldn't be an auditor, a wizard cop for a long time, but he, finally gets his one shot in the first one and kind of continues his career throughout the next books. Up to 4, by the way. I've only bought up to the 3rd, but we'll get I think the 4th one's coming out later this year. But he gets paired with Mayflower, the huntsman, the hard-edged, experienced killer of the supernatural. He solves all his problems with a bottle of whiskey and a gun. He's not having a good day, Mayflower, or a good week, anything. But, like, so they have that buddy cop built in, which is very cool, and continues in the next one. So it's very good. I didn't know right away there'd be a 4th one, but it does kind of seem like we are going for a fully serialized vibe, which is perfectly fine. We like serialized fiction here.
Yeah.
And for the 3rd one, we made the jump to hardcover. But yeah, so I'm trying to think. Warrior Born. It's a novella. It's short.
Yes.
It's pretty to the point. It is, as we said earlier, kind of a prologue to the Olympian Affair. I kind of wonder if, like, Jim originally wrote it as the prologue to Olympian Affair and then realized, as I stare at the different sizes on my shelf, how fucking big Olympian Affair is, and went, I can publish this first bit as a novella.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty solid. I think the title Warrior Born is good because that's, I guess I would say, what the novella is actually about, in, like, a thematic sense.
Yeah.
being warrior-born, what they deal with, what's going on with them, how terrifying old ladies can be.
She is very terrifying, and I love her for it. I can't remember her name, but oh,
it's very stereotypical. Was it like Lady Hightower? I think it was High something. It's gonna bother me. Let me look. Flipping. Lady Herringford.
Herringford, yes.
And I think that's the only name they give her.
Yes.
Sorry, I lost control of my chair a little there, scooting back over to throw that back on the shelf. Okay. But yes, very good read. Kind of interesting to see Jim publishing standalone novellas. It kind of feels like that was usually what he would do in like the short story collections.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously those were published a bunch of different places. But I guess we'll see, because there's some Dresden novellas coming too. So I'm just thinking about Dresden short story collection. He wrote so many short stories about Bigfoot that he had to put them into a single collection. Bigfoot trilogy. Actually, I just remembered as I was taking a bracing sip of water. You've also said you've been reading some light novels and stuff. Lucky, anything percolating you want to be speaking about?
Anything hot and fresh? No, not particularly. I don't think I've read. I haven't read anything that I think I have to, grab the mic and yell to the crowd, "Yo, y'all got to read this! It's so good!" Let's see here. I have been reading the Unwanted Undead Adventure, because I actually realized that is a lot more well written than one would expect from, such a title and an initial premise. Seems like it starts off like, I guess I can chill this one. It starts off as like a very stereotypical, main character gains power, but it's actually very much a story with a slow build and a lot of power systems that make sense in it. Oh god. And it's been on my mind recently because actually, like, the author has gone dark recently, and like the latest book of theirs got pulled from stores. I'm kind of curious what's happened. Can't find volume 14, even though I know what it looks like. But if you like, it's like I said, it's like game lit adjacent. Well, no, actually, RP, or I can never remember which one it is. But it has like the bones of like the stereotypical, isekai like story, except it's not isekai and it's not like full on game lit. But like, because we still have, adventurers and dungeons and power gain and stuff, but it's not something that is like formulated with like stats, and still it's kind of like Goblin Slayer in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, an adventurer's strength is measured by ranks, but it's usually through like knowledge and skill and abilities with like the powers they have that determine it. It's not just, numbers on a sheet, which I think is nice. Lucky still loves his game lit and his RPG lit, but I am not about hearing, character stats every 3 pages. I'm just not. And like I said, the story is pretty good. There's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of mysteries in there, which I think is important. So, and the world building is also very good. It's very slow and methodical, and there's like a bit of exposition here and there, but it's good. And the cast is colorful and interesting, which is also important. Even some of the villains are just all like, I like this person. How dare.
That's always a good time,
Yeah. Like, if you want like a modern traditional fantasy, like, I think the Undead one, like, that's easy to read, I should say, because that is the point of light novels. I should mean that's easy to read. I would definitely recommend the Unwanted Adventurer. If you wanted something like, I guess another one in that I think is, is away from the tropes, but not like committed to the tropes, is the brilliant healer starts. Oh god, what's it called? Fuck. Oh, the brilliant healer's new life in the shadows. Sorry, it took me a second to do it. It's another one of these actual genius gets kicked out of their party, gets a harem stories. But again, the world building is pretty well done. The character are amusing, and like I said, it doesn't break convention, but it's well written enough that you see the classic tropes and you're not put off by them, I guess I should say. It's like you'll recognize things as they come, but you won't necessarily. It's not a problem, so to say. Other than that, let's see here. I did get it's not a light novel, but I did actually get manga. I have the first 5 volumes of The Barbarian's Bride, which is, I guess you can call it a what's an opposite of a cliche? Or when you take an egg cliche and you turn it on its head? I can't.
That's a subversion or deconstruction.
Subversion, yes. It is a subversion of the Princess Knight genre of, the kukuro, the kill me. Like I said, you culture gentlemen might understand what I say when I say a kukuro. But oh god, I'm starting to realizing I'm really liking stories with deep world building in it.
World building is fun.
World building is fun, yes. I got these 5 volumes because I looked at chat and I totally forgot what I was saying. Megan, what was I saying before I blanked?
You're talking about the volumes of the series.
Yes, the anime is coming out this summer, I believe.
That's
animated summer.
Yes.
And the story is good. Like I said, it's a subversion of the captured princess knight genre, and it's the art style. The story is very good, and the art style is sensual, not erotic. Which I've decided which I have learned, which I have discovered is something that I appreciate. Lucky likes his big tits and ass, but sometimes you just draw characters the right way and it's sexy, but you're not like, it's not. You don't have the urge to, goon over them, as it were. Which me in my older age appreciate. Like he hasn't given up yet, but boy howdy, I do not have this. I do not have the energy I used to. So I think that's it for written works. Like I said, I've got through Warrior Burn. I'm glad I said something to you, Omega, because now we're both caught up. Yeah. Like I said, I did talk about it. It's all like, oh man, listening to the Olympian trial, picking up Benny on the airship. I'm just like, oh, I know what happened to him and why he's fucking lacerated the shit. Damn.
I know. Like you said, when you pointed that out, because I think I misread or misunderstood something. I thought it was a prequel because he talks about his trip down to the Habel in the first one of like, oh yeah, I did some stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, that's how he got there. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I've read it. I'm like, oh, that does explain a lot. But also, it's like that was just the soft pitch for this.
Mm-hmm.
There's still, there's some deeper stuff. That the thing with like the left hand stuff didn't. Well, I don't think it came up in the rest of Olympian Affair. It might. I don't remember if it did. I wouldn't have had the context to recognize it right away, I think. But that seems like a future plot hook.
It could be. But no, I'm excited for that. Like again, I've been very slow with my listening of Olympian Trial, and I did pick up more. I picked up the Mistborn trilogy, I believe it's called. What was it, by Brandon Sanderson?
Brando Sando, yes. Very. Speaking of world building, a very, very popular series that I think just got optioned for movies and TV.
Yes, it did. Because someone was recommended to me, and I did pick up the next couple books in Gaunt's Ghost because I do want to keep reading those. Because I really did like the first one. Like I said, I can't say that I am I am knowledgeable in Warhammer, but I can feel like I can honestly say now that I know enough. Don't ask me to start listing out chapters and the fucking Primarchs and stuff, but I know enough to get by.
And before anybody says, no, we're not going to get lucky to read Horus Heresy, I haven't even read the Horus Heresy. There's fucking 64 of those fuckers. And I've heard that, several of the early books are just the same events over and over again from different POVs because we have too many Space Marine legions.
I do need to finish Emperor TTS, though. I did not finish that. I need to finish that. It helps with the lore. But other than that, like I said, I'll be picking up more books as they come. The 6th volume of Today's Menu for the Enemy Family just came out. Unfortunately, it got delayed so many times that there is a huge backorder list, and Amazon at the very least was sold out, immediately sold out. So I am waiting for additional copies to be printed. Here's hoping that we get a season 2 this year, as it's the 10th anniversary. God, it's been 10 years. Jesus. Oh, actually, that reminds me. Speaking back on Cinderspire's theory, I keep seeing fucking Gwen Lancaster. I just look at her and I go, this girl makes me think of Aurelia constantly. I'm like, what is with you and small sassy girls? I feel like there's one in every game we play.
Well, I'm shaped by the media I consumed. I don't actually know if I would. I'd have to double check her description. I don't know if Aurelia is necessarily described as small. I think she is shorter than you guys, but that's because she's only 16. She's got a little bit of growing left.
Well, she's sassy.
True.
I think Aurelia would make a fine airship officer as soon as we, establish that doctrine.
Invent airship officers? Yeah. All right, so Outlaw's coming out in May 5th.
Like I said, I really do need to get working on my bookage, but unfortunately, unfortunately, that's not going to be happening for like the next couple weeks at the minimum, because I'm going to be playing Code Vein 2 like a lot, and then I'm going to be playing Nioh 3 a lot.
Yeah,
like, normally
for me, this is primo read time because I don't have any big video games on my. Like, I want to get started working on my backlog, but I can take time off to read first. Even when we get to March, like, I am planning on picking up Marathon again, depending on how the betas go. It is possible that I could pick it up and go, oh no, Bungie's lost the sauce. I don't think so, but they could have. You never know. That's why you try hands-on stuff. But like that, even that's not going to be like a. That's not going to be like, say, if it won't happen. It's not happening. But if the third, FF7 game, like, magically shadow dropped, that would be like, hello, yes, I'm buying this. I'm not doing anything but playing this for, like, 2 weeks straight.
But, yeah, no, like, me listening to audiobooks is when I'm, like, spending an hour and a half in the car each way, coming or going from the mountains. That's how I listen literally to Warrior Born, by the way. In a car.
Like I said, it's pretty compact. That makes sense.
Yeah, but Axe is asking about Code Vein 2. It is meh to good in my scale. Some people are expecting way too much from games these days. Like I said, the combat is the movement in combat is clunky, but like I said, the enemies aren't so overtuned that you can't bullshit your way. Anyway, the mechanics and aesthetics are fun though. So no, this game isn't gonna wow anybody, but it is perfectly serviceable for what it is. I think that's right. It's only a slight improvement over the first game. They probably did not do as much to iterate and improve as they could. I think you were correct.
God knows what they went, because they went for like a soft reboot option and stuff like that. So I don't know. I was gonna say that I skimmed the Metacritic for it earlier, and it seems pretty divided. Like I think it's a 70 average, but that's because there are some 60s and even some lower. And then there are some people who are like 80, or even I saw a couple like 100s. Like, if it's your jam, it's your jam.
Yeah.
If you like the first one, you'll probably like this one. But
yeah,
it's not necessarily going to sell itself to people who did not play and enjoy the first one.
Yeah. But I think that's enough about books and video games and stuff. How about tabletop?
That seems fair. We're about 333. We could talk about Rain for a bit.
Yeah. So, we had a pretty story and RP heavy session last session. We had what was called the Midsummer Gala, an event that Enos hosted. Megan, did I post the episode already?
No.
Have I not?
I was gonna mention that. Well, that'll be what the episode will be titled when it's posted public. It will be Midsummer Gala, but
yes, completely social event. There was a lot of talking, a lot of socializing, a lot of talking from Enos, but that was to be expected in this sort of event. That's kind of my thing.
You were hosting.
Yep. Did a little bit of talking about the great tournament coming up.
And we did I think we had a pretty good balance of giving everybody scenes, because we kind of went like round robin, right?
Oh yeah, there was definitely times where it's all like me as like, I'm gonna do more scenes. Does anyone have anything else? And then I remember Aaron says like, I'll do my thing after one more Enos scene. I was like, okay.
Yeah. We went round robin and let some people to get insert, and I had a couple of sequences to hit. It was mostly a social. There were a couple times I tried to get a little more tension, a little more in there, but the people mostly wrote it out.
Mm-hmm.
I did inject a certain amount of paranoia into the scene when you all did not succeed in the opposed check against stealth.
I was a little concerned. Yes, this was rank 67, right?
No, 68. It's almost
68.
nice.
Ooh.
Next time
it's
will be
almost
nice.
Yes, I must bang someone in that episode. Clearly. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting the upload set up. It just takes me a few moments.
Yeah, it was a considering we've had some issues and stuff, some oofs. I think it was a good return to form where, yes, the majority of it was spent on the event. We had a little preamble time, but it was spent on like a singular Flashpoint type event where it was like a big deal. But we went round robin. Everybody kind of had their moments, and I didn't feel like anybody's scenes got like boxed out.
No, like I do think there's a little bit I want to flash back to come next session, but it's just gonna be little things like Enos talking to Lucy about the things that happened. Maybe speak to Estelle a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the main thing was just because we were bumping up against, I think, the limit that Dallas had. So you were just like, I'll flash back next time. That's the thing I consciously brought up in this episode to be like, hey, so long as like you have had access to certain people, we can flash back to conversations you wanted to have earlier if we don't get them all out like right away. Like if you think later, oh shit, I really should have talked to so and so at the party, we can be like, well, you could have talked to so and so in the party. There wasn't anything stopping you, you know? Like you guys have free agency now as effective adults and you know, power brokers in your house. It's not like the prologue where you guys were all minors who were like being chaperoned everywhere. So yeah, we can run some flashbacks, but I don't think any scenes like dragged on too long. Not too long. We got a little long in the tooth in a couple places, but you know, it happens with the roleplay, with the back and forth debaters.
It does. I elicited at least one gut busting laugh from Axe. That tickled me a little bit.
It's always good when you get a little bit of a shaker.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll leave the situation to y'all's imagination.
I can listen to the thing. You'll have to double check later, or Lucky can tell you off mic.
Yeah.
We'll try to stimulate the audience.
Stimulate. That means add energy to. But this next session, this Sunday, I hope nothing bad happens. We're gonna be moving to the not Grand Melee, into the tournament arc, which Omega has already talked about. Speed rolling certain roles, not doing NPC on NPC violence, and hopefully we should get to it pretty quickly. It has been confirmed that Enos will not be participating, so Enos will probably either be in the stands cheering or taking care of multiple other things that he has. I am still slightly nettled that you oh god, how do I want to? I don't want to say cut me off. Well, no, kind of did. Yeah, cut me off on my interaction with Lady White.
I did get out in front of you.
Yes.
Not necessarily intentionally, but you had been talking about wanting to go like see her later, I think a little bit during the week. But it was an interaction that I had already been planning. I don't think it necessarily had to specifically happen at the gala. It's just that you guys actually did the thing where you specifically went out of your way to invite Aurelia to the gala. So I was definitely like, oh yeah, okay. So Lady White's going to show up and then I'm going to be like, hey, anybody asking questions about this? How do people feel about this? What are you seeing?
Yeah. Maybe I still will go see Lady White and ask about her relationship to the Queen, but that might get me stabbed. I don't know.
I would still say to think about it, to try it, because I will say that well, first of all, speaking of NPC on NPC action, I did have to roleplay against myself purely, which is always a little awkward to carry on a improv conversation with yourself. But while, as usual, I give the players, anybody listening to the APs on the channel, hints and stuff, some of that will come out more if you actually were to ask some solid questions. Because like I think I can guess what you guys think of their relationship, but it is just kind of through light conversation because I didn't want to have it take up too much space in the session. Just me talking to me.
God, I just keep thinking about, Lady White's one Metagrease earring jingling. Then you see the Fairy Queen's both of her Metagrease earrings jingling. I'm just like, what does it mean? It's all theater of the mind, but well, that's actually not entirely true. Some of it I also wrote down in prose for Aurelia's thing because there was a brief Lady White POV segment. But oh yeah,
generally, we're all doing role play, like I said, theater of the mind, discussion points, and rolling dice. But I have recurring bits. I have themes. I have both visual and repeated narrative cues.
No, but yeah, no. I think during like not the down week, but during the tournament week. Enos will, pack a basket of festival sweets and take it to Lady White. She's probably not wandering the stalls, getting some food.
No, she definitely did not do that. Like I said, I always wanted her to show up somewhere during the summer court season because there's stuff we want to be setting up to reveal for later. Lady White is a fairly important, a character in the context of she was here and you guys have investigated her some, but she has her own arcs and things to do to unravel, and so we need to set that up for payoff for the audience, whether that's the players or the listeners. We want to build that energy for the payout. But I also didn't know where exactly I would get to her, right?
Yeah, because it's one of those moments. Yeah. I mean, it was a perfect situation. Like,
yeah,
Aurelia's
the
here,
way it
the
lined up
Fairy
with
Queen
the
here.
gala was
It's not.
great.
It's not like a big loud party. So it would probably suit her vibes.
Mhm.
So no, it makes sense. It's just one of those moments
to make it a secret garden thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, like I said, it's just that moment of like, because it would be mostly a me to me like telegraphed action. It's like I didn't know when it would come up. I could have maybe brought it up for like during the fair earlier, like if Aurelia was just going by herself. But actually, I'm pretty sure that both Nicola and did you also like Enos mostly went dating during the festival. But I don't remember if you chaperoned around any of the girl squad.
no, I did not chaperone. Enos.
I
Enos
know
has been
Nicola
very
made
busy.
sure to do. And Conrad and Leslock have been available during the downtime for that kind of stuff too, hanging out with family, But yeah, like the other player characters went out of their way to make sure she was around and involved in things, so it was not necessarily like I had to bring in Lady White for stuff. So there's. Sorry, it's me just drawing my fingers thinking, but yeah, it's like one of those things, like I said, where it was like if anybody like asked like out loud in character, oh hey, what's Lady White doing right now? It would be like, oh well, we can set this up right away.
Mm-hmm.
But it is one of those things of like because it was not dramatically addressed earlier, it was just kind of like, oh no, like you said, this is the perfect sequence to plop that in. Kind of the same with some other conversations, seeing characters and stuff. Like I did not necessarily have the captain of the Second Prince's guard like in mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I knew she would be a character who exists. I kind of figured what her like archetype would be, but I didn't have a name for her and didn't have any like other stuff. And then I was like, when we were reshuffling all the invitations, I was like, oh okay, I need somebody for this, and then kind of form her to fit the mold. But definitely there are other moments where we can have this kind of like, oh yeah, this is the perfect time for this character to show up or that character to show up, and like some of these conversations we could have earlier probably, but they didn't come up, so we get to them, whether that's like all kinds of funny things, like Ainara Espada kind of doing some posturing on Conrad, and me pointedly saying over the plate, hey gang, Logesh is I guess style of romance is very particular, maybe causing clashes. At some point, one of y'all might want to call him out on that, and we'll see if that goes anywhere. I believe Aaron's already said that he may have to have a conversation with Conrad, may have to have a talk with Logesh about what's going on with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, excellent. Like technically, because you'd already announced the tournament, Ainara could have had that conversation anywhere, but it worked really great in the moment in the episode. Especially because then I get to talking about my recurring bits, right? My recurring language of just like, I don't know when I decided that Moira has spurs. It wasn't at the start, but it's here now. So it's just like, that's just like my little narrative cue is, to talk about Moira's spurs jangling.
It's a good one.
I do believe Leofric did have spurs. I don't remember for sure. But if he didn't, it fits his character too well not to.
Another thing I'll probably try to get in during the tournament week is probably the meeting with Marin. I think I've got the scene in my head. I just got to, fire on it and hope it all works out. Like, I hope it will.
I've been waiting for this one. You're waiting for the third week to pull this one. I've been like, ooh, been thinking about this.
Well, like I said, I wanted to get enough research done. And
yeah, you wanted to in and out of character kind of solidify your idea beforehand. That's fair.
Yeah, but so
it's just one of those things that like little GMing secret, y'all. When the guys talk about things they want to do, like that's kind of in the future, I often start thinking about those things right away because I never know when they're gonna hit me with some of them. So like I mentally had to be prepared for like, well, maybe not had to be, but I felt like I had to be prepared for like Enos to be like the first night, like, okay, I'm gonna have that pointed conversation with Baroness Marin now, and I'm like, okay, shit.
No, it wasn't that quick. Like I said, I needed to get some time. Speaking to the new band, Sapphire Corp, I think helped. I was also thinking about maybe like trying to sneak over to Nicola's and get some vibes, maybe from like the guests and stuff. But I was like, nah, the Sapphire Corp is literally like I won't say I'll fucking call her BFFs, Lady Marin. If they're
childhood friends.
Yeah, if she would have an idea, it'd be her. So.
I mean, to compare it to relationships you saw otherwise, Sapir Corb is like the equivalent of like, Everhelm Ferran or Ike Wayland, right? Like, she's from a
Yeah.
Banner House, but she's the same generation as her head of the High House. So, like, they're tight.
So Lady White meeting.
Speak with Baroness Marn.
Lady White meeting might get stabbed. Don't know. Lady Marn meeting might get shot. Don't know. Let's see here. Gonna try to finish off Nakaluka's weapons. I got to put the enchantment on the blade and the scabbard, so it's super cool. I was thinking about getting it ready for the tournament arc, but no magic weapons allowed. So I was like, I'll make it a prize like for her, no matter when she where she places in it. What else was there to do for Enos? I really don't know. I think that might be it.
I'm trying to think of something. There was a thing I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about the characters saying scenes they wanted to do. I finished my other thought and I've lost the first thought or the second thought technically, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
I lost the tangent because I didn't form it.
Because I definitely got to speak to Lucy because we got to start prepping the big trip. I got to see if Lucy's gonna need anything or help with anything. Like she might just say, "No, I got this," and I'll be like, "Okay." Or she's like, "Enos."
For Lucy, that would definitely be a character moment. I think Enos is the only person Lucy would say, "I don't got this" to, because we talked about this where like. I think actually that was an in-character thing, because Leslak said he talked about it, where being like, no, I believe in you, and she's just like, okay, well, the boss believes in me.
And so if, like, Enos got to, like, fucking, like, start, like, doing something, he don't know, like I said, I haven't thought about if Enos, I haven't thought of Enos' response if Lucy says, I need help. But I'll think of fucking something if she does, but it's just one of those things of, like, Enos was kind of, hanging around and probably would have heard the thing and the thing with Lucy. So it's like one of those things of like, he's got to go support his girl. Also get her initial reaction of, Sidwell Cowrie.
Yes. That did not come up yet in characterization.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think boldly making choices, that's good. We can work with that. I'm
not like telling her, putting that pressure on her, like, as a role-play thing, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, no, I don't think that's a bad thing. But it's just that you have made a decision, and we need to work around the decision you made, because Lucy probably really doesn't want to disappoint you. And that's going to stress
and that's
her
the thing
out.
I was going to say, is, like, that's the thing of, like, doing things that feel right for you. When we bounce that to NPCs, then I think about how NPCs feel about those things and react accordingly. Lucy, we've kind of depicted previously as, like, she has risen to a great responsibility at a young age, and, like... You've seen her on the sea as a sea captain. That girl's fearless. Like she outsails pirates and everything. You're pretty sure you haven't actually invited her into any fight scenes, but you're pretty sure because she's got the fucking harpoon school that like she's not afraid to throw harpoons at monsters either. Like that's not her problem. But at the same time, she also has never like had that many moments where like the Marquis has turned to her in like his full Marquisness and being like put hand on shoulder. I just want you to know, we believe in you. We're all counting on you. Like, that's, that's a moment where she has to think about it. And like I said, I think her current reaction in the moment is just like, she asks, are you sure about this? And Leslak says, oh, don't worry about it. I believe in you. And she's just like, oh, okay. All right. Doesn't matter how I feel about this. I'm believed in. That means I got to do it. I'll figure it out. I think that kind of sets I want to say, because we've done a lot of talking about ships and stuff. He's even ordered some ships, which would be funny because that means we got to name ships. Both names.
Well, you got to name ships.
Yeah, you guys got to.
I didn't even think about that
stuff. Yeah, no, I was thinking about that. I'm like, ooh, we got to come up with some boat names later.
Boats.
But like, I think that is kind of a difference between we'll see more of when you speak with Lady Marin. But that's kind of those sequences of like the difference I think between like sailors out of Tyne and Norlon in general and like other places. The Marins have this whole like free as the wind at their backs type thing. Like, they get by just hurling themselves into problems and being like, wind and waves will sort itself out. And if it doesn't sort itself out, guess I'll die. Guess I was just unlucky. Fuck it. We ball. There's a reason why the dice games, which is probably... Actually, I don't know if it's literally Liar's Dice. I should think about what dice game Marin's Dice references. But that is a game of chance that they play is Marin's Dice. Like, they are literally the dice rolling house. Whereas I think, like, in Tyne, you guys have a more methodical, technology-informed, kind of like, I almost want to say wisdom-based way of doing things, but like that's Logie Torchbearer's thing was like investigating everything. Ooh, what's this? How does it work? Take this apart. What does this do? Kind of a thing, you know? Take it apart, figure out how it works, build it back better. So, like, Lucy is not confident she can do it, but also you're asking her to do something brand new, so she's like, okay, all right, that means we gotta figure it out. I gotta have a plan. We gotta see what the, like I said, figure it out. I remembered also when I was talking what my other thing was. I was going to say, because I was talking about having to come up with ideas to be prepped for players. As a reminder about about scenes and stuff. I actually did a lot of thinking about the backstory for the Desert Kith preemptively, because you thought you were going to talk to Rommel about some stuff, but I think that was the session before we had the session that was all goofy. The gas leak.
Yeah.
And so we did not get back to it, and we completely dropped that thread. So, like, that's the thing where I was like, I was prepped ahead of time for something that has not come back up.
Because I need to figure out the kid's view on
religion and stuff.
Religion and stuff and death, and maybe see about, their, I don't want to say death cult, but
yeah, you want to ask about some of their spiritual practices and kind of their belief system. So yeah, and I
totally forgot about that.
Throat. Well, I figured because it hadn't come back yet, but that's what I was thinking about. I was like, oh yeah, that was an example of a thing where, like, I was not ready to riffle that off the top of my coat. You asked about it. I went back into the tank and invented some stuff.
So I don't forget about that one.
Oh, sorry, my bottle of water's across the room. I'll have to go grab it after I finish this sentence. But yeah, that was a case where I thought of something and then I was like, oh shit, and then like I wrote it, and some of it I made player facing because that's when I came up with that stuff about the golden tablet, right? About like the work of philosophy that the players are more familiar with. But then there's other stuff that hasn't come back in at all.
Sorry, I'm writing down combos I want to have in my notes section so I don't forget about them again. Let's see here. And speaking of Knock Luke and Estelle, maybe I'll see if I can sneak in like a country ride with Estelle before we fucking pack everyone up for vacation time.
That would probably be doable. She's not in the tournament.
Yeah.
Even though she's been practicing her sword work, I posted the list of the boys. I will probably say it out loud and remind everybody on air on session because it's off mic, obviously. But I posted my full list of entrants, which drew the expected and pleasing dramatic responses to seeing everybody assembled in the lists. But it was mentioned in the session, so it's not like too much of a spoiler. But it comes out during the gala that the two princes are involved in the tournament.
Oh yeah, no, I think I did a what?
Yeah, that was a moment that everybody sat up a little straighter in their chairs, metaphorically speaking, hopefully literally. Love to get that response. But like when I decided that, because I've obviously been planning some of this stuff way ahead of time, had plenty of free time to plan stuff when we were taking our little Rogue Trader break. That's part of why we did it. So like when I was planning out the list, I was like, okay, so what's a good parallel? We need to figure out our royal family relations. I decided against putting in any actual heads of house in the tournament, pretty early. And I will say this, because it came out in some other cross conversations. I think I started putting it that way because there was a question of whether or not Leslock was going to join, and I think you've said you don't remember this exact conversation, but you had had some talk with him out of character about like thinking about that carefully because at the time the tournament was Aaron and Conrad's baby.
Yeah.
And like whether or not in character it would make sense for Leslock to kind of undercut his brother like that. So that immediately got me thinking of like, okay, so is there a good reason why Leslock wouldn't enter? And I immediately thought, actually, is any head of house going to enter? And my answer was no.
Yeah.
Not this time. Like for most of them, there's not a lot to be gained from it. Marquess Espada already has a lot of tournament wins under his belt, so he has no need to succeed. I think there could still be room, obviously, for if Leslock had wanted to do it for him to get in, but like I said, I wanted to think about, is there a logical reason for him not to do it? And, well, if no other heads of house are doing it, then yeah, maybe he doesn't want to do it because, we're talking about like social status and stuff. But I was like, I should have some members of the royal family get in. And I thought about having Estelle in, but I still wasn't 100% sure whether or not Enos would be in.
Yeah.
Like, I was pretty sure you were not coming in, but it was definitely like, okay, well, Nocta Luca is for sure in, but like if Estelle is also in, that might be tricky for Enos getting involved.
Yeah.
Luckily, they wouldn't have been in the same bracket, but still. But I decided to have the princes go in so they could obviously build their rivalry that way. And then I was like, oh no, if Estelle knows that, even if she's in a different bracket, if Estelle knows her two brothers are in the tournament, she is not joining. She's not going to... The third princess is very conscious of optics. She is not going to kind of make waves in that scene. It will be much more beneficial for her to kind of sit back, let Paloma maybe make some waves as her, cavalier, her knight.
That's right. I should ask Estelle about her future plans and if she has any schemes, just in a much more polite fashion. Or not in a polite fashion, I'll just roll fucking theater.
True. But yeah, I mean, she is your patron. You check in. She hasn't had anything to roll about that since I think Estelle has noticed that you're quite busy at summer court.
Yes. But I think I'll add that to my list of asking Estelle if there's anything that she needs from Enos or any plans that she would like to share that Enos may help out with. That's what I did. I think that's what I gotta do with Enos. I gotta put Enos at the service of NPCs.
Ask not just PCs but also NPCs if they need to scheme a little scheme. That works. Yeah. We can work with that. Now, like I said, this is the thing we're talking about. Now you got me thinking, like, oh, what would Estelle be scheming? Expanding the Atoll Club was kind of her thing, but you guys have succeeded on that in an axis she wasn't thinking about.
Well, yeah, no, but that's also the thing. She was also thinking of expanding in another specific location. So maybe she needs like a little bit of capital or investment in that direction or some dealing. Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll let you think about that. But...
Yeah, I'll think about that before tomorrow.
Yeah, but no. So no. Yeah, no. That's another probably small role play that I will need to have. And the only lady in my life that I probably don't need to have a big conversation with Nakaluka.
You're just gonna go to her matches and cheer her on
and give her a cool ass sword later.
Let's go some fucking goes. Go England.
But yes, I'm very excited. Slight tangent, but this is one of the things I wanted to bring up. But I am starting to feel the itch for combat, though. I will say, in our tabletop, I've been listening to my friends talk about their games. And I'm just all like, oh yeah, we had this really, really badass, it wasn't a combat, but like an action scene of, they're playing, what were they playing? Oh god. Oh, they were using the Fate system and they were doing a space game with
technically we've played Fate before. That's what the Dresdenfels RPG was based on. So like, yeah, we know that can be a very flashy action sequence kind of thing.
Yeah,
because you've got fate points and you can spin narrative control and stuff.
Oh yeah, I know. So like I was just listening to them talk. I was like, man, I want some action scenes in Rain, because I do still love the narrative, not the narrative focus, but the social and the role play focus of it. But I do feel like sometimes we might spend a little bit too much time on the social and role play, and we're not getting in. We're not doing enough swashbuckling, man.
And that is definitely, I think, part of our, even before this, our like talk with the thing, the session that never was. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. The 66 we decided not to push publicly. That was like part of our conclusion of that is like, okay, we do need to spend less time sitting down and planning every little thing and like approach this in a more methodical fashion and like do more. It's funny because technically you guys could have picked this, but it was decided that the tournament would be the third week in Summer Court. So yeah, you guys have been kind of action scene light for quite a few sessions now because it was all like set up and bounce back. Yeah, and not to assign blame or value or judgment, but the results of the action scene before that of the boar hunt in the Fogvale was a little anticlimactic. So, like, it has been a while since we had a big dig in, and not since we got back from Rogue Trader, which definitely had a lot more action-y bits.
So, like I said, we've talked about it, like, the tournament will have some stuff, and then, we're going to be doing things in, with the Ivory Isles and stuff, so we'll be getting up there eventually. And who knows what, like, we have mines to clear and Kelt to see, cities of the dead to find. I think we're going to do, like, a lot of stuff, but I'm feeling the itch now.
I understand that. Like, because the Keltasy trip's not until winter. That will definitely be much. That one will resemble much more your like detours to like Tron or even like some of your pre-Summer Court adventures around Tyne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exploring, occasionally hitting things.
Oh yeah. So that is going to be fun. And So I am excited for that, and I do think that everyone else would enjoy being able to hit things more often. Because I don't say that everyone hates RP, but I definitely feel like it's not like everyone's strongest suit for one reason or another. So getting back into a space where everyone can feel like they're doing good at the thing that they want to do, I think would be good for the morale.
I think, Lucky, you're the only person who has not told me at some point that like doing the in-character RP stuff has been hard. Like, I don't... Sometimes you agonize over exactly what Enos wants to do, but usually that's ahead of time. Like, in the moment, you've usually got Enos' head on pretty straight. But yeah. I think everybody else has at some point or another. Even Dallas has been like, hold on, I'm struggling with my vibe here.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Where am I going?
No, and it's all like I said, I thrive on the social and the RP stuff, but that's just me. And like I said,
and obviously honestly, that's a very critical part of Reign because it's a high level, swords and sorcery and politics game.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things of like we need to get back to the sword and sorcery bit, not the politics.
It's a triangle. You need not only do you need politics, but you also need swords and you also need sorcery.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know. Like I said, we got. I don't know. Maybe we can go into the woods and hit something during the Fogvale trip or something.
Maybe. I mean, actually, honestly, for streamlining, I've not gone too hard on it, but you do have a hunt planned in the final week.
That is true.
You might be able to pick some of your because I did some research into Renaissance era hunting. You guys might be able to get some small action scenes. Probably not a drawn out unless you guys go, oh, we want to hunt a monstrum for the hunt. In which case I'm like, okay, we're going to definitely do some rolling dice now. But I think the team would probably want to avoid that.
I mean, we're bringing the fucking High King in Entourage. We do not want to bring monstrum anywhere near him. That does remind me, though, I do need to make an upgrade. I do need to write out an upgrade spell to Infernal Command, because I wanted to make a spell called Infernal Domination, which was permanent control of longer-term stuff. Yeah. But I have to, again, I keep telling myself to go check the damn, well, actually, no, I need your, do you have your notes on, like, what you use to, well, actually, no, I really don't have to. I just have to take the duration to just increase it.
Yeah, just look at the chart, which is in the core book, and figure out what the difference between, this one and that one is. Yeah. If you're like, and that intensity is unreasonably high, which I don't know if it will be or not, then it's like, is there any, ask me if I like did have already accounted like, material components or prep time or something.
Does fucking Infernal Command inflict shock or killing on you? I mean, I think that'd be pretty good. Yes,
that's always a pretty easy one. Not a deep discount, but you can take one shock everywhere for like -1. That's because other than the limits you put on it, there are no limits on sorcery. I do kind of like that for like exhausting spells. It's just like it like takes your energy. You're gonna take shock everywhere. You will pass out if you cast this spell too many times.
100 feet, animal. No, it doesn't. It does. The normal one doesn't. Yeah, I think even if it doesn't, it's only intensity 3. So even if no. I'll see if.
Well, what's the duration on it right now?
Hours. Oh, if I want it to be permanent, that's gonna be like +3, ain't it?
That's gonna be 3 more. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like 6.
Yeah, no, I think
it goes like hours, days, years, forever.
Permanent. Yeah.
So that's 3 more steps. So yeah, you'll. Not that there aren't a few intensity 6 spells, but they're very spicy.
I mean, getting permanent control over a monstrum, I think, is pretty fucking spicy. And also, I do think that should have a cost of like, that takes a lot of juice.
I mean, yeah, if you wanted to do, we could drop it down to 5, which is already like also really high, and that could be take shock in every location after you cast the spell. You have to share some of your energy to form this permanent bond. Well, I think the parts that depends on the power of the monstrum is the what they get to roll to resist. If anything, that might be something that they get to like defend.
It's not trained like an animal. It's considered to have a mission to aid the sorcerer. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask. Maybe it will make it trained permanently. It does say that it only works on monster rank demonic beasts or less, and I think that's important.
Yeah, you guys haven't run into any divine beasts, but they're nasty because that's at least dragons and up.
Yeah,
dragons, frost giants, other shit.
Yeah, but if I do this, I can finally get those silk spiders.
Yeah, you can train tames for spiders. You guys will have to take a trip to Ferretti, to Forrester.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the conversation. Yeah, Lucy, I need to transport these spiders home, and Lucy just like, what? They're tame. Another picture of. Oh, actually, no. It'd be an image of Enos getting a harpoon through the gut. Yes, no. I'm gonna write that one down because that's. Oh no, Summon Crest has a Summon Monstrum. Which...
Yeah, that's explicitly the ability to make Monstrum appear.
Yes. This one will not make Monstrum appear, it will just make Monstrum, not Angie. Or, excuse
Obey
me,
your
as
commands,
Angie.
at least. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is something Enos has already done. That's something that Soulcraft can already do on a shorter term basis. For a few hours, you can be like, hey, you listen to me.
Yeah.
I command the power of the soul. You listen when I speaks.
I'm gonna write that in my notes before I forget.
Which I think works, because Soulcraft is charm. Summoncraft is command.
But like I said, I've been looking at Enos' stats and skills, and I'm pretty happy where things are right now, so I'm gonna really focus on getting a lot of the spells I want. A lot of the spells. Just more spells. All the spells. So many spells. Do I need these spells? Probably not, but it's gonna be funny.
Well, we can treat sorcery like a toolkit. That is another conversation I think we both had at all different points with Axe of the sorcery is not the when all you have a hammer type thing. You don't necessarily invent situations where you can use sorcery. It's more that because you have access to sorcery spells, you can find new solutions to situations. Technically, which I think finally happened for the first time in a long ass time, if ever. Leslie actually got to catch threads of conversation during the party, and that was actually a really good use of the sorcery to be like, oh yeah, this is only intensity 2. Just so long as nobody's within 5 feet of me, I can cast it without triggering an eerie roll, and it's got a range of many feet. And it's like, oh yeah, no, you can totally pivot that.
Create the infernal domination spell. Because I did like that idea of improving spells that we have to do better effects. It's just there's not a lot that I look at them no, this is perfect as is. But Infernal,
I've mentioned it before with some duration stuff, and I've even done it myself at the behest of the players. We started with a very simple Veiler spell to turn a group invisible or shrouded, and then Axe was like, "Can I get a version of this that's more affects more people?" And I was like, "Okay, we can step this up from just you cloak to small team to a large squad." I've talked about this before. I did specifically design that very particularly to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that D&D type invisibility usually have, where it's you get free attack hits and stuff like that, of when you try to interact, it's going to end immediately. But it still lets you do some very weird setup stuff, and obviously, has company bonuses. And I think that's already part of your strategy.
So, Rain is looking to be exciting. A lot of things are going to be moving forward. Again, like I said, we've been having good flow recently. I do think taking actual breaks and trying to streamline some things is actually working out really well. And I hope we maintain this energy and pace throughout. Like I said, we have this is a game with probably years of in-game time, and I do want to actually get to the end for once. Too many times we just kind of, peter off games. I'm like, no!
The classic problem with it, yeah. At least, like I said, this Rain is very solid because I had a very, very solid idea of the opener, and I have a very solid idea of at least what the challenges at the end are.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know exactly what the literal ending will be because I don't know exactly how you guys will tackle these problems, in what order. Will you fuck it up? Failure is an option too. But, I have those long I have these long blocks in mind, but it's the middle stuff that's all that's where I'm okay, you guys are getting free to do your own thing. Some of which, is paying off for things we're setting up. It took several sessions for you to actually go to the Fog Veil because you guys, I think since session 1 post-prologue, we're what about that Fog Veil, huh? What's going on over there, huh? And I'm just well, they say it's evil and haunted evil. And you're just yes, interesting. And now it's, a whole big, hairy subplot for you.
Big
a whole
and
singular
hairy.
plot arc. And then there's more going on. It's just a lot of stuff. And I honestly, I think part of the advantage of Rain, especially as we do kind of learn to streamline parts of it, is just figuring out, when and where you guys are going to do things. I've been weaving this thing in with the Mare Cage, and Remnants of House Venom and Summoner Witches out there. And it's that's a plot thread I'd love for you guys to be able to chase down on some stuff, and we'll be continuing to see that kind of crop up organically because some of that cases the problem has come to you. But that's another one that's you guys may have to wait for some of that problem to come to you and come to a head because you guys don't own the Mare Cage, so you can't just stomp down there for free and be where are you hiding your witches? Might have to do some company stuff, some setup, some wiggling.
Some wiggling.
And again, like I said, you may just have to like shore up your end and just wait for them to come to you. But if that is the rain winding down, it's not 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're recording for about 4 hours. Probably why I said 4 there. 4 16s. I think we can wind it in for the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lucky says, so we'll wind it in. If you're listening to this on YouTube, we're, as usual, we're doing movie night. We're through the original trilogy. Last time we saw Ewoks with gliders attempt to defeat a legion of the Emperor's best troops, to mild success. But we will be taking a break, and we'll be doing Spaceballs. The first one, not the Search for More Money. So be sure to join our Discord and tune in for that. Discord links are in the description. Yes, I've already mentioned I'm going to be working on a Wanted for Andromeda in the upcoming week. We'll take some time this weekend to set that up. Another thing. Don't forget, if you want to still do it, but if we're going to poll about Resident Evil, we need to poll.
Oh, okay, that's right. I'll have that
if we want the feedback, and if not, we can just decide. But yeah, we wrapped up Resident Evil 5 and tried to play some of the DLC, but the network said no.
The network did say no.
So we let it end a little early, so we're leaving some room to see if people want to see us take a crack at the DLCs, or if we want to go straight to 6, because that'll just be a barrel of laughs. I say because Loth mentioned this before, but streamer I follow, Renovays Jr., formerly of Achievement Hunter, left to go independent many years ago, but I still keep track of his content. He invites like a VTuber a year to play RE5 with him. But he has recently been working through RE6 with other Resident Evil gamers, and I think today he tweeted, Resident Evil 6 is the most tiring game of all time, and I'm just like, that's gonna be fun for us later.
Oh, yeah.
But, we'll get it in and we'll see, so be sure to stay tuned for streams. And we'll be back next week, of course, with more Let's Talk FGO. Tuesday, probably Failed Betrayal. Wednesday, probably Final Fantasy XIV, depending on how everybody's feeling. I should mention, because I will be talking about patrons more in a second, but it's about to be a new month. It's a great time to join Patreon because we'll be, I will be, as was mentioned earlier, be fulfilling the poll winners for Fanservice Friday and for the Fail Betrayal poll, and then we'll be setting up new polls for people to vote in. I'm making some gestures you guys cannot fucking see. I'm swirling my hands to demonstrate. Honestly, the main thing is that I don't have like a green screen and a camera. I could probably do some on-camera stuff and you could see me gesturing, but I don't think I've got the room set up for it. I need a new light too. Anyway, check out the Patreon. More on that in a second. If you're watching this far, make sure to like this video. Leave your comments down below. You can join our Discord, which I mentioned earlier. Make sure you're subbed to keep getting those videos and streams I talked about. Consider supporting us with a channel membership. Get badges and emotes. They're cool. Mm-hmm. And, as I said earlier, consider supporting us on Patreon. You get this episode in audio format and all of our other audio releases for as little as $1 a month, or approximately $10 a year. At higher levels, you can access to polls, early video releases, and so on and so forth. At our gold tier, you can listen to us record Let's Talk FGO live every week, right there in the patron chat. If you hear us talking to chat, that's them. And at our highest level, you get an on-air shout-out like Adam Harp, like SOG, Call Me Zit, Carlos, Dragon, JDV 1000, Starlight, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Ramen, and Charvor. Thank you very much for your support, patrons. Thanks for listening, listeners and viewers. And I think we'll see you next week for more. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.